In Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Ross Chastain will be first to finish in the Ally 500 at Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the air.
Man, this is a win in the cup race.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studio, Day 2 at SEC Media Days, presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket, and by Mercedes-Benz of Music City. And so not only is it Day 2 of SEC Media Days, which I am really starting to loathe for a lot of different reasons, but it is Day 2 of the Titans unofficially having DeAndre Hopkins on their team. And I want to start with that. Ian is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
Let's get right to the important stuff, the DeAndre stuff. So when the Titans play a game or when there's a major trade or there's some kind of breaking news, let's just say when the Titans play a game, right? We always have that Monday as Titans Monday, and we react to the game. So we don't care about what somebody else said. You know, what did we think of what happened? Then Tuesday is kind of a reaction to the reaction. And that's where I want to start here on the DeAndre Hopkins front. So last night after the show, this morning before the show, I did a lot of watching. Just a lot of watching of what everybody around the country had to say about the Titans making the biggest acquisition in the NFL since the draft in DeAndre Hopkins. And I wouldn't say I was surprised by this, but 85 to 90% of the talk that I heard, whether it was ESPN, whether it was Fox, whether it was Dan Patrick, whatever it may be, was not about the Titans. It was about the mistake the New England Patriots made by not adding DeAndre Hopkins. I got to tell you, I'm not one of these guys that sits there and says the announcers hate your team. Like, we're at SEC Media Days right now. And I guarantee you there are people that are Auburn fans or LSU fans or Arkansas fans or Georgia fans that think Gary Danielson hates your team. And I'm here to tell you right now that Gary Danielson does not hate your team. I've always been that guy. I always get texts, tweets, whatever it may be. I always get all that info from everybody when the Predators are in the playoffs or a Titans game. Oh, yeah, those announcers were so anti-Titans. No, they weren't. You are just so pro-Titan that somebody telling the truth, like a James Lofton or whomever, Adam Archuleta, you're like, they hate the Titans. And they don't hate the Titans, trust me. But again, that brings me back to the coverage that we saw yesterday after DeAndre Hopkins had announced he was going to go to the Titans. In fact, I think Dan Patrick is the perfect example of it. Now, I saw it on ESPN, and I think Dan Patrick yesterday was the perfect example of this, which is the DeAndre deal nationally is not about the Titans.
The thing that I don't understand is the New England Patriots, because you got a good defense. They were a top 10 defense. You have nothing on offense. You're not even sure of your quarterback. And is Mac Jones, right-handed Tua Tagovailoa? I don't know, but Tua certainly has a lot of toys to play with. If I put Tua in New England and Mac Jones in Miami, you would probably see Mac Jones be a very good quarterback. But he doesn't have anything to work with.
And that was Dan Patrick's immediate reaction to the biggest story in the NFL, which is the biggest story in the country sports-wise, because the NFL is the most important sport in America, and it was about the Patriots. By the way, the Patriots seem to have not realized this yet, and apparently neither has the American media. Tom Brady does not play on that team anymore. Last year, they were scheduled for Sunday Night Football and got flexed out. Like, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I used to look at the schedule, and I'd see a Patriots game, and I'd think, oh, Patriots and Steelers, Patriots and Cowboys. I remember a story when the schedule came out maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago. And the guy who does the scheduling for the NFL, the head of the broadcast committee or whatever, called the head of NBC because they give the networks a heads up like maybe a day or two before they release the schedule, and they say, hey, he calls the guy from NBC. The guy from NBC picks up the phone, and he goes, please tell me that we got Patriots-Packers. Said, you got Patriots-Packers. Well, these aren't the same Patriots anymore. And yet all anybody wanted to talk about yesterday was this indictment of Bill Belichick or what it means for Mac Jones. And I heard almost zero discussion about the Titans. And I am convinced, I'm not going to sit here and say the national media hates the Titans, because I don't think that that's necessarily true. Now, I think there's some belief that if somebody works in national media and they spend too much time talking about the Titans, that there's some kind of belief that, oh, yeah, you're going to be in real trouble now. The bosses, they don't want to hear that. They want to hear more Dak Prescott talk. But I don't think it's so much about a hate for the Titans. I don't think the lack of talk about the Titans is coming from a malicious spot in terms of how the national media feels about the Titans. I think it is just there is a popular opinion out there that Ryan Tannehill sucks. That's what it is. I think that I had Kirk Morrison on last week, former NFL player, works for NFL Radio on SiriusXM. I had him on my SiriusXM show last week. And I said to him, you know, how important is the DeAndre Hopkins signing? How big of a deal is this? And he said signing DeAndre Hopkins would make a team a Super Bowl contender. Now, I'm not convinced of that, and I don't think the Titans are necessarily a Super Bowl contending team. But that's what he said when I say, hey, how important is the signing of DeAndre Hopkins? You know, hey, this could make you a Super Bowl contender. Then I asked him about the Titans and the Patriots, and he scoffed at it and scoffed at the Titans. Like, you want to go play with Ryan Tannehill or Will Levis? I mean, I had people coming up to me here at Media Days asking me, people that I know from when I worked in Louisville that cover Kentucky, that have been coming up to me saying, when's Levis going to play? I don't know, 2024? Certainly not today. But I think the general consensus is Tannehill's bad. Now, I don't think that that's fair. In fact, I think it is incredibly unfair. And I think Ryan Tannehill is a lot better of a quarterback than a lot of the quarterbacks that are out there in the league right now, like Baker Mayfield. And I think he's a lot closer to the average starting quarterbacks in the NFL who always seem to be good enough, but not good enough to get your team over the hump, like Lamar Jackson or Dak Prescott or Jared Goff or any of those guys. And yet, it's almost like the national media was told, hey, we have to ignore the Titans acquiring the biggest name out there in DeAndre Hopkins because we think their quarterback stinks and their running back is a running back and all running backs are bad. I'm convinced of it. That's why the Titans paid DeAndre $13 million, because they had to include the Tannehill's our quarterback tax, and we're not in New York or Los Angeles, and we're not the Dallas Cowboys tax. But it's amazing how one guy can generate so much hype, which is exactly what happened with DeAndre Hopkins. And if DeAndre had signed with the Cowboys, or if DeAndre had signed, hell, if DeAndre had signed with the Seattle Seahawks, it would be massive news, and everybody would be talking about it, and everybody would be talking about, is Seattle ready to challenge San Francisco in the West? Where do they fit in the NFC? If he signed with any of the New York or LA teams, it would have been a big deal. But because it was the Titans, even though this is the time of year where outside of Shohei Ohtani, there's really not a lot going on. Who cares about the NBA Summer League? Conference media days are kind of more for the league TV networks than they are for the main TV networks. And all of the talk is, why didn't the Patriots sign this guy? Not, could the Titans win the division? Could the Titans get back to the top of the AFC? Could Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill have a renaissance? None of that stuff. Now, I'm not going to say that this is an anti-Titans bias, because when the Titans acquired Julio Jones, similar circumstances, I think we can agree, different but similar, there was all this talk about how good the Titans could be. There was all this talk about A.J. Brown and Julio Jones and Derrick Henry and how great they could be. But not now. Titans signed DeAndre Hopkins, and it went from whichever team lands D-Hop might be a Super Bowl contender to, well, we can't talk about the team that signed him. So let's talk about the team that didn't sign him. And I'm a little surprised. And I think there is no way around this. Vrabel would play the disrespect card no matter what. I saw Tom Brady one year when the Patriots won the AFC. He was in the locker room in Kansas City accepting the trophy, and he turned over to Jim Nantz, who was in the locker room, and he said, I know nobody expected us to be here. And I thought, nobody expected the New England Patriots to be there with you as the quarterback. So everybody always tells themselves, that they're the underdog, especially coaches. Vrabel can really do that this year. I mean, Vrabel can really pull the nobody respects you. Because yesterday, I think, was a clear and obvious sign. Listening to almost every national analyst on every major show in America dissect the Titans for 1 second, and they move right on to the team that didn't sign them. Because they'd rather talk about the Patriots not signing DeAndre Hopkins than talking about the Titans signing DeAndre Hopkins. Unbelievable. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I think it is an indictment on the national lack of belief in Ryan Tannehill, whatever you want to call it. I can't say it's an indictment on the national belief in Tannehill, but I have gone from last year knowing that Tannehill can't get this team over the hump, and he can't. I'm not going to sit here and say that even if everything goes to plan, Tim Kelly is a great play caller. He's more Arthur Smith than he is Todd Downing. That Chigakonkwo and Treylon Burks take the next steps. That DeAndre is DeAndre and Derrick Henry continues to do what he does. I'm not going to say, if everything goes to plan, you're going to be a really good football team. Now, that's a lot of ifs, and we're not going to count the ifs. But I'm just saying, if that were to happen, I still wouldn't pick you over Cincinnati or Kansas City in a playoff game, because Cincinnati and Kansas City has the quarterbacks that are always going to be good. But this idea that DeAndre Hopkins doesn't move any needles, and it's like, oh, God, do we have to say that he went to the Titans? Why did he go to the Titans? Even Solomon Wilcots yesterday was like, man, I was really hoping he'd go to the Chiefs. I mean, to me, this is all about Tannehill. This is not about Belichick. This is not about Mac Jones. This is not about DeAndre. I don't even think it's about Derrick Henry. I think it's about Tannehill. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in, 615-737-1025. And of all people, I was kind of surprised that the take that I thought was the most accurate, or that I agreed with the most, came from Colin Cowherd as far as the Titans and DeAndre are concerned. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025, Stillman and Company, right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Again, we are live at SEC Media Days, and our coverage is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket in Music City, or Mercedes-Benz of Music City. And tune in for Sounds Baseball tonight at 6:35 on 94.9 The Fan as the Sounds take on the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, the AAA affiliate of the Marlins. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza Company, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure.
He knows the ins and outs of the Titans and isn't afraid to give his opinion.
Treylon Burks needs a massive offseason.
He's Jonathan Hutton of Outkick.
I don't see how they make a move without going to Ryan Tannehill.
Catch him every Monday at 10:30 on Chase McCabe and every Wednesday at noon on Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Hutton is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals. In addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses, we will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
We're changing the game. I'm Michelle Knezovic. Help your bets stay hot this summer with Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports gambling, with a direct line to Las Vegas. And now when you use the promo code THEGAME, you can score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 with the promo code THEGAME. Download the Superbook Sportsbook app and enter the promo code THEGAME, and you'll get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Hey, it's Jared. Want to tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Hiller is keeping you chilling all summer with special deals to keep you relaxed and happy this summer. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals. When you purchase a select new HVAC system, you'll get 2 Yeti Trailhead camping chairs, a Yeti Panga 28L waterproof backpack, a Yeti Tundra 75, and 2 Yeti tumblers for free. And get special freebies on Yeti products with every new whole home generator or tankless water heater purchase. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
The Parker Store at 1909 Nolensville Road in Nashville is the Parker Factory Authorized Store for your Parker hydraulic, pneumatic, water, and chemical hose needs. They stock metric tubing and hose connections to 42 millimeters in size, and they'll fabricate while you wait up to 6,000 PSI hydraulic hoses in a 2-inch size. Call the Parker Store at 615-248-8245 for all the Parker requirements you have. The Parker Store, 1909 Nolensville Road.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins, who said he wanted to go to a team with a stable quarterback or a stable coaching staff, and he wanted to go to a team with a championship defense, and he chose the Titans. No, hey, look, you're laughing.
Yeah.
You're laughing. You're laughing. You're laughing.
I'm not the only one, by the way.
Let me put a little bit of respect on the Titans name, and I understand I've said that the wrong way, but
is that supposed to be inspirational?
Hold on a second. You could do a whole lot worse than Tannehill, DeAndre Hopkins, and Derrick Henry.
That's true.
That's not bad.
Yeah, you can also do a whole lot better.
No, I know. I understand that.
Fair, high register.
I understand that.
There you go, Rich Eisen. I mean, he was trying to tell his crew, hey, this is not bad. DeAndre Hopkins, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and they laughed at him. And that's a show, I got to tell you, the Rich Eisen show, I don't know one person who watches that show. And I'm not dumping on Rich Eisen, but I mean, Ian, do you know anyone who watches that show who's like, oh, yeah, I watch the Rich Eisen show every day?
I'm not really sure what channel it comes on.
I don't know what channel it's on either. I mean, it's amazing. But anyway, that's what Rich Eisen said. So of all places, as I was listening to what everybody had to say yesterday just around the country about the Titans adding DeAndre Hopkins, I was stunned when I heard Colin Cowherd open his mouth and talk about the Titans. I mean, we talk about this all the time. We love Colin, but Colin is usually wrong and misinformed about the Titans. Ian, what would you say? 90% of the time that he talks about them?
Yeah, okay. I'd say most national people are probably right around 90%. Yeah.
Absolutely. This is what Cowherd said yesterday in reaction to the Titans when he was able to find about 35 seconds to, wedge this away around Patriots takes, as everybody in the national media is told that they have to do now. Talk about the Patriots not signing DeAndre Hopkins instead of the Titans signing DeAndre Hopkins. Here's what Cowherd said about the Titans' addition of DeAndre Hopkins.
Vrabel sold him on it, and that's all this was. Free agency is salesmanship. It's a little bit like college football inserted into pro football. Mike Vrabel's younger than Belichick, probably a little less rigid, former player, and he sold him. And I don't think, we're not talking about D-Hop as Randy Moss is going to change everything, but if you told me DeAndre Hopkins, now with Trey Burks, is worth a game in that division, the difference between 9-10 or 8-9, they got a very good defense, that's the difference between not making the playoffs and making the playoffs. It's a weak division. There's not a lot. There's only one weak division in the AFC. The other three, AFC East, AFC North, and AFC West, are stacked. Tennessee needed him, and Tennessee got him.
I was shocked. That is the dead-on right take. And it came out of the mouth of Colin Cowherd, especially when it came to the Titans. I keep telling people, the line last year between not making the playoffs and making the playoffs was so razor thin. It was one play on a referee's call that could have gone either way. And I feel kind of dirty every time I say that it was a referee's call on the Josh Dobbs fumble or incompletion or whatever you want to call it, that it was a referee's call. But it was, in fact, because when I do that, I feel like some kind of crybaby that's sitting here and saying, oh, the refs, and I'm not doing that. Because deep down inside, I think Dobbs fumbled. Now, if Dobbs fumbled, I think Josh Allen in the playoffs fumbled, and they didn't call it that because I think they wanted to keep it a closer game, but I digress. But I feel like a crybaby when I say that it was a ref's call, but that's what it was, and that was the line between you and Jacksonville. It was razor thin. And so getting DeAndre Hopkins and not throwing the ball to those Scarbinis that you were running out there last year, Racy McMath, in the Charger game. And again, Chargers, playoff team, good quarterback, on the road, and it was a game that came right down to the wire. Tannehill threw an interception on a ball that Racy McMath didn't run through. Well, now, if Racy McMath's off the field, and I think we can all pray that that's what's going to happen now that DeAndre Hopkins is on the team, those things may not happen. That is a difference. Look, Todd Downing sucked. I think we can all agree on that. But when he had A.J. Brown, they were the 17th ranked offense in the NFL. Last year, they were 30th. So this is a massive difference. I'm not saying that they're going to go back to Arthur Smith's 2020 Titans, but if you go back to 17th, I think the difference between 30th and 17th is that tiny little razor-thin edge that gets you into the playoffs. And Cowherd's the only person that actually thinks that way. Everybody else, they're just looking at fantasy points, or they're just, I don't know what it is that they're looking at, but it's like this idea that doesn't move the needle. Okay, does it make you better than Kansas City? Probably not. But when we go back to that razor-thin edge, that razor-thin margin in the NFL, what happened last year against Kansas City? And even though Malik was terrible, Chris Conley dropped a ball, Nick Westbrook-Akina dropped a ball. The hope is that this season with DeAndre Hopkins, those guys won't be on the field. That's the hope. Again, with Julio Jones, we thought that might be the case too, and they ended up throwing the ball to Chester Rogers and all those jabronis that they put out there because Julio couldn't stay healthy. But I do think that DeAndre Hopkins, the addition, takes you from 30th to not 30th. And that's the difference between making the playoffs. To me, if Treylon Burks arrives and he reaches that potential, which I think is A.J. Brown-like potential, then you're right back where you were before. I actually did the math on this today. Since 2019, since October 20th of 2019, the day that Ryan Tannehill became the starting quarterback of the Tennessee Titans, Kansas City leads the AFC with 48 wins. Buffalo is second with 43. Baltimore, shockingly, because they were 10-0 the rest of that year in 2019. Baltimore 39, you 37 in the entire AFC. So, I mean, if you can get back. And yet nobody wants something. They just want to talk about Belichick's not helping out Mac Jones. What do we make of Belichick not getting the DeAndre? It drives me crazy. Driving me crazy. Corey Curtis texted me. He said that Cowherd's take on the Titans was, quote, shocking to listen to. Because Cowherd, I mean, he never gets it right with the Titans. And I think that's dead on, spot on accurate. Let's go to some of your phones, as we always do. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. Liam says, our phone lines, by the way, are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Liam says the national audience doesn't hate us, the national media. They just don't care about the Titans for the same reasons that you don't talk about women's golf. The national audience does not know or care. I disagree, because they did talk about you when you made the move for Julio Jones. I mean, when the Titans made the move for Julio Jones 2 years ago, and it was in June, not July, but when they made that trade, it was, everybody watch out for Tennessee. That's what it was. Now it's, Tennessee. But can you believe New England didn't get him? And what's the difference? What's the difference between now and 2 years ago? 2 years ago, Ryan Tannehill was coming off of a season in which he and Deshaun Watson were neck and neck for that third spot on the AFC Pro Bowl roster. You know, and this wasn't like the traditional Pro Bowl where everybody gets to go because everybody cancels out of it. And so Tyler Huntley ends up in the Pro Bowl. This was a year where they didn't play it because of COVID, so they just announced the Pro Bowl teams. So if you made the Pro Bowl, you made the Pro Bowl, and nobody opted out because there was no Pro Bowl. And we knew that Mahomes was going to be a starter in the AFC. We knew that Allen was going to be a starter in the AFC, or was going to make it in the AFC. And there was one other spot, and it was Watson or Tannehill, and they ended up giving it to Watson, and Tannehill wasn't happy about it. What's happened since then? 3 interceptions against Cincinnati, a bad season in 2021 from Ryan Tannehill, and last year, when put on national TV, Tannehill and the Titans did not play well against Buffalo. I didn't think it was Tannehill's fault. Then Tannehill got hurt. I just think it's a belief, just a commonly held national belief, that Ryan Tannehill's no good. And I guess where I'm arguing here is not that Tannehill is very good, because I don't believe that, but I do think that Tannehill is better than he gets credit for. 615-737-1025. We'll roll in some more of your phones. 615-737-1025. I should say Chris Sanders is going to join us later this hour. You know, normally he joins us on a Wednesday, but Commissioner Greg Sankey is going to join us tomorrow at 2:35. So we'll get to your phones, 615-737-1025. Plus, I haven't read it yet today in the text line, but I know it is a commonly held fear, and I have it too. But I can kind of talk my way out of it when it comes to the Titans. I'll explain. We'll do that next. 615-737-1025 here on Stillman & Company. Again, live from SEC Media Days. And 102.5, 106.3 The Game. This summer, we've got the ticket tour, and it's headed to Bringle's Smoking Oasis, located at 4901 Centennial Boulevard in Nashville, Friday afternoon from 2 to 6. Come eat, drink, hang, and leave with a pair of free sound spreads, Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, or concert tickets. Also, get signed up for the grand prize, Titans tickets, Preds tickets in the 501 Club, and a 2-night stay at Opryland Hotel with access to sound waves. Black Tie Moving delivers the Game Summer Ticket Tour. For more details, visit thegamenashville.com/tour.
Every day we are live and local.
I think Vanderbilt is steady, disciplined.
It's been so long since Tennessee's gotten out of the first weekend.
And your source for Nashville sports. I don't mind going to another team.
You want to know what the coaching staff's going to look like?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a beach day. With 35 miles of sugar white sands and emerald green Gulf waters, it's no wonder why. Let's unwind under the sun on Clearwater Beach, ranked #1 beach in the South by USA Today readers. And then liven up the night at the Sound, a new outdoor waterfront concert venue featuring performances this summer by Peter Frampton, the Goo Goo Dolls, and more. Let's shine. Plan your getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history. Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Jasper's on West End Avenue is your neighborhood bar and restaurant. They offer a fun atmosphere with a game room, TVs, a large bar, lounge area, and patio seating, plus free parking. That's right, free parking on West End. Come into Jasper's today to enjoy their elevated bar fare and well-crafted cocktails. Happy hour Monday through Friday from 4 to 6, and now game night every second and fourth Thursday. Drop in anytime where you can win gift card prizes each week. That's Jasper's on West End Avenue, Nashville's place to gather, play, eat, and drink.
Mom, we're out of potato chips.
Teenagers, they'll eat you out of house and home, kind of like health insurance, which can take a big bite out of the family budget. Fortunately, with Farm Bureau Health Plan's Core Choice coverage, we can save $3,600 a year compared to the leading competitor. And we've got better coverage with a lower premium, lower deductible, free telehealth visits, and access to one of the largest networks available.
Can we order pizza?
Visit FBHP.com or your local Farm Bureau office today.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds are back home tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Gary Bettman. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
This is pretty simple, Greeny, right? DeAndre Hopkins was looking for, in his own words, a roster or a team with stable management. Well, Rand Carthon just got hired as the GM, and Mike Vrabel, DeAndre Hopkins knew already and has been there for a while. He was looking for a quarterback who loves the game. Well, they have Ryan Tannehill, and he was looking for a championship caliber defense. But the one thing that the Titans were able to do that no other team was willing to do was to give him $12 million in the first year of that contract. When DeAndre Hopkins was looking for a team to trade for him, there was a team out there that had some interest and offered him $4 million a year. And so he got triple that from the Tennessee Titans yesterday. So you could talk about management and quarterbacks and defenses all you want. In the end, ultimately, the Titans went to a financial spot that no other team was willing to go, and that's why DeAndre Hopkins is going to sign with the Tennessee Titans.
Wow. In-depth reporting there from Adam Schefter, in which he says, why did he pick the Titans? Because of the money. Albert Breer writes at Sports Illustrated. Now, I like Breer. But I'm not I like Breer fine. But he writes, when talking about why did DeAndre Hopkins pick the Titans? Quote, easy, money. First of all, duh. I mean, why did Jawan Taylor pick the Chiefs? I'm going to tell you why. Because they offered him $65 million. That's why. Why did he pick them? The money. Duh. This isn't the NBA where it's like, I can get $100 million from everybody, and I can get $125 million from the team that I'm on right now. Yeah, I'll just have the team that I'm on right now sign and trade me, and I'll still get $120 million. He writes, for the 31-year-old five-time All-Pro, first of all, he's a three-time All-Pro, five-time Pro Bowler, but who's picking hairs here? For the 31-year-old five-time All-Pro, getting $12 million in base pay and up to $15 million in the week leading up to the opening of camp is unequivocally a win at a point when a team's cap and cash budgets are mostly spent. And sure, if Hopkins plays like he has at many points in his career, paying him less than what a lot of good number two receivers make will be a bargain. But this is a guy, Breer writes, who's played in just 16 games over the past 2 years and needs to be managed injury-wise in a way, with his practice time very limited, that some teams or coaches aren't comfortable with. So you're banking on him being, again, who he was 3 years ago, and while he might get there, as he's promised, that's a tough bet to make on a player who's on the wrong side of 30 at the position. That's why it's really hard to blame Hopkins for taking that one last bite of the financial apple, because it's tough to know whether he'll get another one like it. And while we're here, Hopkins' relationships in Tennessee certainly didn't hurt. I mean, the reason why the Titans signed DeAndre Hopkins is clearly the money. But my question is, going back to the Schefter thing about the $4 million, was, do you think that if Odell Beckham's going to get $15 million, that DeAndre Hopkins should get $4 million? No. And the thing about money in the league, I don't pocket watch, so I don't know what these guys have made or haven't made or anything like that, or what they've kept, or, I have no idea. But I do know that money, in a lot of times in the league, especially for players who are well established, equals respect. And so for DeAndre, you're offering him $4 million. That is disrespectful. So you wanted him to take the disrespectful offer to go to Kansas City? Why would he do that? Well, I thought he wanted to win a ring. I mean, that's not how this works. How many guys actually pick a team when we're talking about a 4 times difference in pay? How many guys actually pick a team based upon anything else other than money? Unless it's like the difference of, okay, it's 1.5 here, it's 1.25 there with the taxes. But how many times have you seen a guy say, nah, I'll go ahead and I'll take the $12 million instead of the $4 million? All the time. It reminds me, Dansby Swanson from Atlanta, played on the Braves, won the World Series with the Braves, loved being a Brave. He hit free agency this year. The Cubs offered him $177 million over 7 years. The Braves offered him $100 million over 6. He wanted to be with the Braves. He came back to him and said, please, what can we do? And they said, you can take the $177 million from the Cubs because we're not going to pay you that. When they say it's a business, that's what they mean. The idea that we're going to knock DeAndre for taking the money, I mean, I don't even understand, all things equal, why he would pick the Patriots over the Titans. Apparently everybody else doesn't understand why he would pick the Titans over the Patriots, all things being equal. But no doubt was the money. Texter into the text line says, I'm excited because Tannehill will actually have a guy that can catch instead of something that the Titans have lacked without A.J. Brown. With how bad the offensive line is, Tannehill won't have time to allow these other wide receivers to get open, so the contested catches from DeAndre will be great. Last year, the Titans went on the road to Green Bay. And on the first drive, it was a 3rd down and long, and the pocket for some reason held, and Tannehill delivered a bomb to Treylon Burks. That's how they started the game. The game ended, if you remember, everybody thinking the Titans were going to try to run the clock out, and Tannehill delivered the bomb to Treylon Burks. Now, that offensive line that day had Aaron Brewer starting at center, which you know I do not like, and they had Dylan Radins, who you know I think sucks, playing left guard. And yet, they held up for the best offensive game of the year. Why? Because of Burks. The Titans were effective passing the football. The next week they played Cincinnati. They lost by 4 in the game where the Titans hit the snapper in the head on special teams. Never talk about Ackerman, but, I mean, come on now. They hit a guy in the head on special teams. They hit the snapper. They end up losing the game. In that Cincinnati game, Tannehill had a higher quarterback rating than Joe Burrow did. And I walked out of that stadium thinking to myself, oh, it's Joe Burrow. He is special. Then it all went downhill because Burks got hurt. The quality of the receivers absolutely matters. And I do have concerns about the offensive line. I mean, Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, Ian, a.k.a.
PT.
PT is suspended for 6 games. I don't know what they're going to do at right tackle. You know me, I'd move Dillard to right tackle. I'd put Skoronski at left tackle, but I guess I don't get to make the decisions. But that is exactly what I would do. I am worried about the line. I think what they're going to do is what TD thinks they're going to do, which is kick Danny Brunskill out to right tackle, and they're going to put Jordan Roos at right guard. And I have serious concerns about the line. But it can't be worse than last year. It can't be worse than Todd Downing calling the plays and Dennis Daly playing left tackle and Nick Westbrook-Akina being the guy everybody's relying on for consistency at wide receiver. It can't be worse. If it's worse than last year, I don't know if there's any hope for this franchise. Keith from Bowling Green says, when did you join the Boo-Hoo Tannehill crew? I think I joined it when everybody started looking at it the wrong way. You know, if we're talking about a Super Bowl, yeah, no, they can't compete for Super Bowl. But if we're talking about, you know, just this here and there, then I mean, Tannehill's better than a lot of these losers out there that people think are good quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield. Chris Sanders will join us next. His reaction to what this really means adding DeAndre. And is adding DeAndre different than adding Julio? Is it different than adding Carl Pickens if you go way back in the day? We'll get Chris's take on it. We'll do that next. Stillman & Company live from SEC Media Days. And by the way, we've got an opportunity for you to win some boxing tickets. That's right. 1025-1063 The Game has your chance to win tickets to Misfits Boxing X Series 008 boxing matches at the Nashville Municipal Auditorium this Saturday. Text in the keyword boxing to the Game text line at 615-737-1025 now to enter. Good luck with that. Chris Sanders next. Stillman & Company, 1025-1063 The Game.
Whether it's college football,
Players might end up not going to Alabama or Georgia.
Or the NFL.
I think that this team wins the AFC South.
Trevor knows. Join ESPN's Trevor Maddich every Tuesday at 4:30 on Stillman & Company as he gives his opinions on the latest from the gridiron.
I'm going to the team where I can get a ring.
Trevor Maddich brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, where experience matters, on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We pride ourselves on being transparent, opening up the books, and sharing all the secrets of the diamond industry. We have a passion for this, and part of having a passion is sharing that passion.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper says, at Genesis, you don't just get an entry-level course in diamonds, you get a PhD.
We love educating our customers, even over-educating our customers about diamonds and gemstones, so they can truly see the difference in what we offer.
At Genesis, diamonds are not a side business. It's their only business.
We eat, breathe, and sleep diamonds.
So whether you end up buying at Genesis or not, come for the education.
The better educated we can make you at Genesis Diamonds, the better a shopper you're going to be, whether you shop with us or anyone else. You will be able to tell the difference and know what you are buying, so you make the best decision for you.
Genesis Diamonds, proud to offer one of the largest selections of GIA certified diamonds in the nation, with no middleman markups, no retail pricing games, no commission salespeople, and no nonsense. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
On July 22nd in Nashville, Tennessee, 4 men will compete in one boxing ring. Only one winner will be declared. Who will be the last man standing in the first ever Survivor Tag? KSI's Misfits Boxing is coming to Nashville. That's right, Misfits and DAZN are bringing Misfits 008 to the Nashville Municipal Auditorium, including some of the biggest names in the crossover and celebrity boxing space. The night will be packed full of action, including the first ever tag team boxing match in the U.S. Fighters on the night include gun expert Brandon Herrera, fan favorite B-Dave, political activist Alex Stein, chart-topping rapper Swarms, lightweight champion Dean the Great, former BKFC champion Alan Belcher. $dollars from Ticketmaster.com.
Does this sound familiar? Did your agent provide excellent entertainment with their TikTok videos and constant social media posts about themselves while completely ignoring that you hired them to sell your home? Did they tell you how wonderful they were? How many followers they had? They probably never sold your home, but hey, they did get 15 likes on their selfies. Hashtag my clients love me. Don't let that happen to you. Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why the only likes we care about are our clients loving our service. Ask us about our prepay with TJ option and how it can save you thousands. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Office number 615-432-2919.
Insightful discussion.
When we talk about the person that these players are.
3 goals scored in the first 5 minutes.
He wants to be the starter, day one. Mixed with spirited debate.
Okay, but Derek, let's put Mr. Derek.
They are Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
We got the whole thing covered. We got it all covered.
Here.
Weekdays at 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company live out at Radio Row at SEC Media Days. Our coverage presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket at Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Ian, is it going to screw you up if I give away these tickets right here? Let's go ahead and give away a pair of tickets right now. We gave them away at the end yesterday, so we're going to give them away early today. Be caller 5, and you'll win a pair of tickets to see Impractical Jokers at Opry House on July 27th. Good luck. That's coming up soon. So, I want to know, when the Titans added DeAndre Hopkins, I know a lot of people thought, what does Jared think? And if you had asked me at that moment in time, what does Jared think? Well, there were a lot of thoughts, but one of them was, what does Chris Sanders think? Did he get better? Did the Titans get bitter, or did they get better? Chris Sanders joins us now on the program. Chris, your reaction to the DeAndre Hopkins news?
Dude, I think it's incredible, and the reason why I love them, the Tennessee Titans sign him, is because he has loads of experience, and that's what the Tennessee Titans need. Burks is in his second year, Phillips is in his second year. You just don't have no guys that have that experience. You know, he played over 10 years, 853 yards, over 11,000 yards, 71 TDs, and 4 Pro Bowls. He's a guy that brings experience. He can make the big play. He might not be as fast as he was, you know, a couple of years ago, but he still has the potential to make some explosive plays. And we can even actually look at last year when he only played in, 8 games. He had 64 catches for 717 and 3 TDs. So it shows you that even though he's up in age, he still has the potential to make some explosive plays. I absolutely love it.
Chris, how is this different, in your opinion, than the addition of Julio Jones, or even if you go way back like you do, you were on that team, Carl Pickens?
I just think that, you know, the attitudes are a little different. And I don't really know Julio Jones. I just knew what happened in Atlanta. And, you know, everybody talks about that he didn't want to practice and, he didn't want to work out and do all those things, had attitude towards the coaches. Now you bring Hopkins in, you never, ever hear him say that he has to work, or he doesn't listen to the coaches, or he doesn't want to block. He is a team player. So when you have a guy that has this kind of caliber of talent, he's going to come in and make everybody better. He makes Henry better. He makes Tannehill better. He makes Chig better. He makes the defense better. He makes the coaches better. I guarantee you that when they actually signed DeAndre Hopkins, Tim Kelly was a happy camper because he has so many weapons that he can use on the Tennessee Titans football team.
Chris, what do you think this means for Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill from this standpoint? I said last year after watching training camp that I felt like, you know, the lack of A.J. Brown being there meant more work for Tannehill and Henry, that there wasn't going to be enough on the roster to replace AJ's production, that they'd have to do it themselves. And I think it's pretty obvious that they did have to do it themselves. How much does DeAndre Hopkins, being a veteran like they are, how much does that alleviate maybe the burden from Tannehill and Henry?
I mean, that's the key. It's eliminate a lot of the pressure because if you look at last year, who was the workhorse of the Tennessee Titans? It was Derrick Henry. So now you have Derrick Henry that doesn't have to carry the load. He can put the load on Traylon Burks. He can put the load on, DeAndre Hopkins and take the load off of Tannehill. Because the thing about it is, when you're a caliber of player of Derrick Henry, and you have to carry the load of a team, it creates a pressure to have to perform every single game. So even though, if Derrick Henry doesn't have a good game, that means DeAndre Hopkins can take the load off Tannehill. He can take the load off, Derrick Henry. So I just tell you, man, he doesn't just make, one person better. He makes the whole team better because he brings so much to the table.
Former Titans receiver Chris Sanders is with us. How big of a deal is it that this deal got done before camp and not during camp or even right before the first game?
Man, I think it's huge because, even though Hopkins is familiar with Tim Kelly, he's still not familiar with Tannehill, Henry, Traylon Burks, Kyle Phillips. He's still not familiar with them because the thing about it is you can get all the talent in the world, but you have to build camaraderie. And when you build camaraderie, the quarterback's got to know the receivers got to know the quarterback. So now, DeAndre Hopkins can come in and learn from Tannehill. And Tannehill can say, you know what, when I run this route, I need you to do this. When you see this coverage, I expect you to do that. So now these guys are conversating, understanding the playbook, because now when you guys are on the same page, you have a recipe for success. And I think it's absolutely outstanding that cat is going to be in training camp. Absolutely amazing.
As a former receiver, Chris, how long do you think it will take for Tannehill and DeAndre to develop the trust that they'll need to have on the football field?
I don't think it's going to take long because you're dealing with two veteran guys. It's not that you have a rookie, quarterback and a rookie receiver, then they're still trying to learn each other. But, you got DeAndre that played over 10 years in the NFL. You got, Tannehill that's played a long time. So these guys know the business. They know, the offense. They just got to understand the verbiage and learn from each other. So when these guys learn from each other and expect from each other and keep each other accountable, I think you're going to see something different from the Julio Jones situation because I think that Julio Jones and Ryan Tannehill wasn't on the same page.
Mm-hmm. Chris Sanders is with us. You worried about DeAndre's lack of practice habits?
Yeah, kind
you
of.
Said yes. You said yeah right there. You jumped out yes right out. False start.
No.
Offense number 81.
No. This is what I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about the workload he's going to carry in practice. I'm just concerned the missed time that he had. I mean, if you look at the last 2 years, he's missed 15 games, in the last 2 years. And then in 2021, he left the game with a hamstring. And then week 14 of that same year, he tore ACL. And then 2022, he missed 6 games for having PEDs. And then, the last 3 games, he missed, the game because of an ankle injury. That's what I'm
No. He did not miss that because of an ankle injury. He quit.
I know, but that was the report. That's the report that came out that happened. But I'm not concerned about the practice time because the thing about it is I know everybody wants him to practice, and I understand it, and I think you should practice as a veteran guy. But we don't want to lose him in preseason. We need him for the regular season, and that's why they got to make sure. And I respect Mike Vrabel when he says it's the maintenance days. Don't give him a lot of maintenance days, but give him some maintenance days to make sure he's ready for the season and ready to go.
So I heard this take. Chris Sanders is with us. I heard this take the other day, and I actually it actually kind of resonated with me. The PED suspension for Hopkins, it bothered somebody not because he got suspended for steroids and oh no, how could you? But because once a guy gets suspended for PEDs, then what it does is it ramps up the testing that guy has to go through, which means that he can't take PEDs anymore going forward. Is that a concern that you have with Hopkins? Not the PED suspension and what that means, but that, Hopkins can't even take that cough syrup. He better watch.
No, I think he's going to be all right because the thing about it is I don't know actually what happened. I'm not saying it was a mistake or he took it deliberately, but I think he's going to be more aware of what he's done and what he's putting in his body because the thing about it is if you look at his past years, with the Texans and with the Cardinals, there's no pattern of him doing it. There was a pattern of he did it with the Texans. He did it with, if he did it with the Texans and it was
How many guys get caught twice, though?
I mean, you'll be – but the thing about it is just like you just said –
Sammy Sosa never got caught.
I understand, but the thing about it is he continuously got tested. So what's going to happen is DeAndre Hopkins is going to continuously be tested because he knows that, okay, you know, this is my last go-around. If I get caught by PEDs and I mess up my career, then no other team is going to want to sign me if he has a chance to go to another team. So I think for him, as being a veteran player and a professional, he said, you know what, I blew it that time, I messed up, but I'm going to learn from this and not repeat the same cycle. So in that area, I think he's going to be okay.
I know, but that can be a bad thing because he can't take the PEDs.
I mean, you're right, he can. And if he does, then that will be an idiotic move. And I'm not calling him an idiot. I'm just saying an idiotic move.
I think we can agree that probably more people take PEDs in the NFL than get caught taking 100%. Them. And so, you know, if he was taking the PEDs and he was playing great, then he gets caught with PEDs, then he can't take the PEDs anymore because, as you said, his career's over. So then maybe that would drop his production a little bit.
Yeah. Ooh.
See what I'm saying?
You kind of stumped me on that. That's a very valid point.
I mean, I don't mind if these guys take PEDs as long as they don't get caught.
Stop it! They shouldn't take it in. No, man, they shouldn't take it anyway. But here's the deal: if I'm DeAndre Hopkins, I wouldn't chance it. Now, if
I know that's the problem is that he was chancing it before and he was a great receiver.
But if his production slips and he plays terrible, and he comes out and drops balls and he slows molasses, he slows you, then you got to make a decision. Do I want to keep this guy another year? And then that's what it's Then now we're going to start hearing the Johnson comparison, the Julio Jones comparison, that this was just another washed-up guy and we didn't need him. So I just hope that that's not the case because I think he's an exceptional player, an exceptional guy. You don't need the PEDs. Just work out, dang-gummit.
Last one for you. How do you think this affects the Titans v. Jacksonville as far as the AFC South is concerned?
Man, let me tell you something. Everybody's talking about Jacksonville, and I think Jacksonville is going to be a great team. But I think that last year was kind of a fluke. I mean, you look at the playoff game. I mean, they should have won that. You got a fumble and a scoop and score. I understand that's great. But I just think that overall, I just think that the Tennessee Titans are a better team. I know everybody's saying, you know, Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback and you got Ingram with the tight end. All those guys are great. But if you look at the offense and the defense up and down this roster, I think the Tennessee Titans better, and I think they're going to win the AFC South.
Chris Sanders, as always, joining us on the program, this time on a Tuesday, to make room for the commissioner of the SEC tomorrow. We appreciate you doing that. We appreciate your
you,
time,
my friend.
Chris,
you take care.
Thank
you so much, Jared. Bye-bye.
Chris Sanders, the best, joining us on the program. Yeah, no, I heard that. They were talking in Boston about, the fact that DeAndre got caught with steroids. And I don't care that he got caught with steroids, but then they're like, no, now you get tested more, which means that you can't do them again. It's like, never really thought about it like that. 615-737-1025. We're going to take just a teeny little bit of Titans and DeAndre breather. We are at SEC Media Days. We've been basically doing all DeAndre for the last 2 days. There's talk. That's all they do here is talk. But there's talk about getting Congress involved in NIL. I'm not sure we have a choice. Get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
End zone throw. Oh, what a catch! One-handed DeAndre Hopkins.
The Tennessee Titans have signed wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins.
Signing with the Tennessee Titans on a 2-year deal.
Well, it's definitely not a surprise. This is something that had been expected.
What can the talented wideout bring to the team?
He's still someone who, against one-on-one coverage, he's going to eat.
Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Derek Jeter as the pinch hitter for your baseball team.
Jeter, you're in. We need a home run.
I'll give it a try. I've swung a bat once or twice.
That's out of here.
Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC. In any work environment, the culture is the most important thing. And what makes up the culture? The people. And this month at Cromwell Media, we want to highlight a few people who are celebrating their anniversaries with us. Morning show producer on 102.5 The Game, Nick Keyser, is celebrating 2 years. 102.9 The Buzz hosts Eric Steele and Andy Herring are celebrating 9 years. Sports producer Kenny Adams is celebrating 11 years. And Derek Mason, one of the greatest receivers in Titans history, is celebrating his anniversary with us on 102.5 The Game as well. If you're looking for a new career, reach out to us at together@cromwellmedia.com. Love what you do, love where you work.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Now that free agent wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins is getting set to sign his new contract with the Tennessee Titans, the focus moves to how much can Hopkins still help the team on the field. Longtime Houston sports reporter John McClain was on with Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace earlier today and said he thinks Hopkins still has some gas left in the tank.
He has not been used up the last 2 years. All the beating he takes from double coverages, he hadn't 15 games he didn't play, so it's almost like he's got an extra season. And since speed was never his strength, that's why he was a 28th pick, he's not going to lose a step if he didn't have it. You know, his strength has always been getting off the line of scrimmage, great hands, great route running, physical, takes the ball away, goes hard on every play. I think it was a great move for the Titans.
SEC Media Days continue here in downtown Nashville. The coaches speaking today are Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze, Georgia head coach Kirby Smart, Mississippi State head coach Zach Arnett, and Vandy head coach Clark Lee. The Nashville Sounds return to First Horizon Park tonight as they begin a series versus Jacksonville, the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. Pre-game coverage with Jeff Hem begins at 6:20 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Bobby and Rex Road. Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mace.
Stillman Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
102.5 and 106.3.
Rebound on the score.
Make every play perfect.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
We're going to win the game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios at SEC Media Days. Our coverage here at the Grand Hyatt downtown is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and by Mercedes-Benz of Music City. So, Greg Sankey yesterday had his kind of annual State of the Union in the SEC. We see it every year. He gets up there, and there's always talking points. There's always something that he wants to go over. There's always somebody he wants to talk to. It's always something, right? It's always something. What's up, man? Hey, swing by sometime. We'll talk later. Good to see you, Coach. Former Vandy coach Derek Mason's over here. Just said, hey, I tell you, I hadn't seen him in a while. I don't even know, where is he coaching? Do we even know? I guess he's coaching one of these.
I don't think he is coaching right now, from what we heard.
Is he on TV now?
He was doing the SEC Network earlier today. Yeah, just last hour he was up there.
Really?
So I think Chase McCabe might try and reach out. So keep an ear open for the Chase McCabe show at some point this week. He mentioned.
Well, I don't know if you heard him, but he was like, "Hey, I want to catch up with you sometime." So maybe he'll come on our.
Cool.
Let me tell you something. I ripped his ass sometimes as the coach at Vanderbilt. But I did like him a lot. And then during COVID, we realized that we lived kind of close to each other. And so when nobody could, like the real shutdowns, like me and him, I was one Saturday out there, we were hanging out, talking football for like 3 hours in the driveway. It's a good man right there. Anywho, so there's all this talk about NIL. And the truth with NIL is that it is the wild, wild west of college sports because there's no real way to legislate it. And there's nothing, the NCAA is completely powerless. For years and years and years, they said you cannot benefit at all financially off your name, image, and likeness. Remember Johnny Manziel getting suspended? That's what that was about. So then finally, the U.S. Supreme Court said, I can't do that, that's illegal. And that opened the floodgates. But right now, in its infancy, everything is being managed on a state-by-state level, which means that Tennessee's laws, as far as NIL are concerned, could be incredibly different than California's laws or different than Utah or whatever state you want. And that causes a problem. And so that's where the SEC and really the whole entire college sports ecosystem finds themselves right now. They are asking, they are begging, they are hoping for congressional help. This was SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey yesterday at the podium.
You actually have states that, when we've looked and asked, have never had enforcement action around what may have been good state laws. They've now backed away from those state laws. And a number, I think New York was the most recent, have said associations like the NCAA or conferences cannot enforce their own even reasonable NIL policies. So you're left with the inability to govern. To resolve that, whether you want to be in conversation with Congress or not, you're going to be in a conversation with Congress to set a national standard. That's why we're there.
Sounds basic, right? The conferences, the leagues, the NCAA, they can't enforce what teams can or cannot do. The idea, now again, with many things in life, the idea of something and the implementation of it are not always the same. Go back to COVID and COVID money and think about all the money that businesses were given, PPP loans, things like that. And while I think there was a lot of good that was done with that, we saw some abusing of it. That's going to happen. And I think the same has happened with NIL, where on one hand, there's, hey, you know what? If you're a superstar athlete and you're in college, you should be allowed to do a Visa commercial or a MasterCard commercial or something like that. But what it's turned into is a bunch of fans and boosters that want to see their team win, basically finding a way around it, paying the players, and the players then going to the school, even though it's not really a name, image, likeness thing. It's more so it's basically pay for play, which is what they don't want. And that's what they're getting. And if there's no way to legislate or enforce this at the NCAA level because the states won't let them, then the only option they have is for the federal government to step in. That's why the NCAA hired Charlie Baker, the former governor of Massachusetts, as their president. Now, it's crazy because, quite frankly, I think Charlie Baker, who's running the NCAA, I think he would probably be, just my opinion, the best candidate for the President of the United States position in America. Because he is the definition of moderate. A Republican who was elected governor in Massachusetts. So instead of all the crazy on one side or another, I always thought, why not somebody who's really right down the middle, which feels like most of America is. But because of how we have primaries and nobody could win a primary being a moderate, he got out after his governorship was over in Massachusetts. He's now the head of the NCAA. They picked him over a former university president or what you would normally see running the NCAA because they need him to help them get federal legislation here. Now, before we sit here and say, I don't want the government involved in NIL, which is what I heard D-May saying earlier today too, which was, I don't want Congress to get involved in this. There's nobody else who can get involved in it. This is not Greg Sankey's lane. He can't tell states how to govern. So the only option is for them to come up with a law. That's the only option that they have. If not, it's the wild, wild west. If not, it's donate to the collective, and then the collective can go out and buy the players. That's it. So if you're okay with that, then that's where it's headed, that's what it's going to be. If not, they find legislation. And then they make the rules themselves, just like they do on a whole bunch of other issues in our modern-day society. Here's the problem, though. I don't think Congress is all that interested in getting involved in NIL legislation. I mean, normally when laws get passed in America, they get passed because somebody really sees a need for those laws to be passed. Or there's some sort of group, that's lobbying, that's pushing, that really, really wants something. And I'm not sure outside of the NCAA, I'm not sure there's anybody who really, truly cares about this. I mean, you think that voters are going to change who they're going to vote for governor or senator or congressman or anything else because of what they think about NIL? There's no way. So I don't know how they're going to get legislation passed, especially in our politics where it's turned into it's so divisive that it's I don't want to vote for this because you want to vote for it. Or if you want to pass this NIL legislation, then you've got to give me, the auto industry, whatever it is that I want to push through because it matters to my constituents or my lobbyists or whatever it may be. So I don't see the path from the Greg Sankeys, the Charlie Bakers, the Jim Phillipses, the commissioners of these leagues. I don't see a path for them through legislation to get NIL corralled. I don't see your federal government sitting there and saying, hey, you know what would be a good use of our time? Not that they do things that are good uses of time anyways, but you know what would be a good use of our time? To come up and negotiate and follow through on developing NIL legislation. They're not going to do it. I mean, there's too many real issues out there that are more important than NIL, and there's too many fake issues out there that these people are campaigning on or, going around the country. I'm going to put an end to this or we're going to fight that. And none of it is about college players getting paid. Because deep down inside, nobody really cares that much unless you're the NCAA, unless you're a conference commissioner, unless you're one of these guys and you're looking at money coming out of your budget. That's what this is. And the real reason, and we're going to have Greg Sankey on tomorrow. We're going to talk about this tomorrow. But I think the real reason why they're looking at federal legislation as a way to try to corral NIL is because if they don't, the other option is their money. How has Major League Baseball done it? How has football done it? How has hockey done it? How has basketball done it? How do these leagues have salary caps? Through collective bargaining. We've heard talk about should they just go ahead and collectively bargain with these NCAA athletes? But they don't want to. Because what does baseball give up? What does football give up? What does basketball, hockey, what do they? TV money. The TV money for these college sports, they're as high, if not higher, than pro sports. I mean, it's not as high as the NFL, but the SEC corrals in more money than some of these other leagues. And we're talking about pro leagues. But unlike the NHL that splits the money with the players, they don't split the money with anybody. And so if the only way to organize NIL is to have a collective bargaining agreement with the players, you're going to end up giving them a chunk of what you make on your TV money. And I can tell you right now, they do not want to do that. That's the easiest way to get NIL done, is to say, okay, here are the rules surrounding name, image, and likeness. But if you go to the table with the college athletes and you say, hey, we want to negotiate the rules, they're going to say part of our negotiation is we want a cut of the money. We see the money you're getting for a 12-team playoff. We see the money that the SEC is getting from ESPN and ABC. We see the money that the Big Ten is getting by adding USC and UCLA. We want a cut of that. And the second that happens, that is a door you cannot close. So all of this talk about NIL and legislation, that's because they can't corral it. There is no way to corral it other than giving up their TV money. So this is their first step. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. I get why they're doing it. I mean, I don't begrudge them for trying to go this route. I don't see any politician, whether you are one of the crazies that goes on TV and yells and screams about every kind of conspiracy theory out there, or whether you're a moderate who rolls up their sleeves and actually tries to get things done, whatever it may be, I don't see any of them going to bed at night thinking for the next day about college athletes being paid. And I don't see any voters thinking about college athletes being paid. What's important to you? Education, public housing, abortion, college sports. Come on now. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. I've got another thought on this NIL stuff because I hear a lot of this talk, especially here, about NIL. And there's one problem that I have with it. And it's not the fact that LSU bought championships in baseball and women's basketball. I mean, look, those are the rules. And, I mean, I don't know if they played within them because LSU has a history of not playing within them. But, I mean, I have no idea. But that's not what works me up about it. But there's another thing I just don't get. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 615-737-1025, 1025, 106 The Game.
1025 and 1063, The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Road, 6 to 9.
Big time performance, best part of the team.
Chase McCabe, 9 to 11.
An unrestricted free agent.
Caroline, Willie, and D. Mace, 11 to 2.
Got the big contract.
The Velvet Touch. Talk about Hall of Famers.
And Stillman & Company, 2 to 6.
Kept going for it.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Smashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063, The Game.
You've waited long enough. Now, Grammy Award-winning rapper, entrepreneur, and actor 50 Cent is hitting the road. The Final Lap Tour 2023. Get Rich or Die Trying 20 years later. Featuring Busta Rhymes and special guest Jeremiah. Bridgestone Arena, Friday, July 28th. Get tickets now at livenation.com.
Sounds Baseball is back all week at First Horizon Park. The Nashville Sounds are taking on the AAA Miami Marlins tonight through Sunday. And tonight you can bring your dog to the game. Gates open at 5:30 and first pitch is set for 6:35. Grab tickets today at NashvilleSounds.com.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for their news, traffic, weather, sports, and a community connection. It's the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times. It's critical that we keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free emergency service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
You're listening to Stillman & Company on 1025 and 1063, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
If I am a fan of Vanderbilt and I donate a significant amount of money to the NIL collective,
I think we said $100 million. Just
$100 million.
I think we're on the record at that point.
What do I get out of that? What are the people that are donating the money to those collectives? What are they getting out of it other than, hey, I really like to go to the game and cheer on my team?
Yeah. Well, what you are circling now is what I feel like is kind of the NIL model the collective model being unsustainable to some level. I mean, if you're winning Super Bowls, literally the value of your franchise increases, right?
Of course. Look at the Patriots.
Right, that's exactly right. So there's not this. It's not a good business model, right? What's happening here early on is it's new and it's attractive, and people are jumping in. There have been some that have been, maybe tax write-offs and stuff like that. Those are things that I don't, venture too far into because I'm not a business guy. But
so with that new contract, you might be headed that way.
Well, but I believe that what you're like what you're poking at there is what to me says at some point this is going to dry out, or it's going to be some watered down version of what it is here out of the jump. And I think early on it's been the extremes, right? But there's no real return on that.
There you go. That was Clark Lee, Vandy coach, on our show yesterday. And I got this big question about NIL. As everybody wants to talk about NIL, what the rules should be, what it shouldn't be, what they should do, what they shouldn't do, I got one basic question. What does anybody who donates to these collectives get out of it? This is the thing. LSU apparently has an unbelievable collective. And I don't know what makes them the Yankees of the SEC over everybody else. But apparently they are. And they bought their championship in women's basketball, and they bought their championship in baseball, and there's nothing wrong with that. The Yankees bought a championship in 2009 because George Steinbrenner was in bad health, and they suffered the consequences of it a couple years later, but they won their championship. They bought it. They paid for it. There you go. But what is the point? I don't understand. What is the point of donating to an NIL collective other than I'd like to be the guy who pays the players? Does it give you a certain kind of special access to the players? Does it give you a certain kind of special access to the team? If you donate money to the university, and again, let's use $100 million. Let's use that as the baseline here. If I donate $100 million to Vanderbilt, it's going to be Jared Stillman Field, the Jared Stillman Arena, the Jared Stillman Diamond, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be named after me with $100 million. So at least I get something out of it. If I donate $100 million to the collective, then what do I get out of that? If I own a pro sports team and I pay for better players and we win more games, we sell more tickets, we sell more merchandise, we sell more popcorn, we sell more everything. So we make more money. So I get something out of that. What do I get out of? What do I get out of paying money to a collective? I don't know. I should ask the Texas A&M people. They're right next to me. They spend the most money. What do you get as a fan out of donating to a collective? And that's why I asked Clark Lee, and I think Clark Lee right there was like, I think that's why it's unsustainable. See, I always love when people say what name, image, and likeness was intended to do. It's like what that was intended to do. Well, I mean, we can talk about what it was intended to do until the cows come home. But what I don't get is if you're paying this kind of money, don't you want some sort of return on investment? Or is it enough for you to sit up at Section 113 at the national championship game, watch your team win, and high-five your buddy you're at the game with? Is that enough? And for the needle-moving money, I'm not talking about, making a $200 donation or something like that. But for the needle-moving money, the super PAC of college sports money, I mean, I wouldn't do it. I'm not interested in that. So I don't even know what these people get out of it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025, and our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Texter says there are more important things that our government needs to be focusing on besides NIL. Agreed. Plus, whichever party tries to push NIL would have to give up something to get support from the other side. But NIL is going to really get out of hand. I agree. That's when Commissioner Sankey comes on tomorrow. That's going to be one of the things that I really wonder is why would Congress do this? I mean, I agree with you that I think Congress is the only line of defense for the NCAA and its member institutions, and so by association, its conferences. I mean, I believe that the only line of defense is Congress. That's it, outside of giving away your TV money, which I don't think they're going to do. But I don't understand why. I mean, look, I know how I vote. I'm not changing my vote based on NIL. If you follow Ian on Twitter, you probably know how Ian votes. Ian, it doesn't sound like you're changing your opinion on who you're voting for based upon NIL.
Probably not.
So, I mean, I agree with the texter, though. It's going to get out of hand. I just don't understand why somebody would donate to it. I mean, let's use like money that I actually, instead of the $100 million, 10 grand, right? If I could donate $10,000 to Louisville and they would be better at football, I'm not sure them winning a national championship would make my life $10,000 happier. So why would I donate that money? Why would people donate to NIL collectives? Like, what's the benefit of that? You know, it's like these sponsorship agreements that corporations do with teams. They get a lot more out of it than just a sign at the stadium, but there's at least a benefit to that. We're the official carpeting of the whatevers. Like, there's a legitimate benefit out of that. Plus, they get tickets included in the sponsorship deals. Plus, you know, they get to talk with the hobnob, with the vice presidents, and they get to do all of that. You donate to the collective. I mean, I guess you get to know all the power players because they're going to want your money to donate to the collective. But outside of that, what do you get out of it? I don't think you get anything. Like this $8 million that Nico Amalavea for Tennessee, the $8 million he's getting. Whoever's paying the $8 million to get a quarterback, what are they getting out of this? And I don't know what it is that they're getting out of it.
They get bragging rights, right?
Is that worth it?
Maybe to some it is worth bragging rights to say, hey, look at us. We're winning the SEC thanks to me.
Texter says, what do donors get when they give $50,000 to the university? Like the way it was before collective. You get tickets. You get the Jared Stillman Scholarship Endowment. You get there's an added benefit. You get the tickets. You get to fly on the planes. You don't get to do that stuff if you're just donating the money to the players. I mean, I'm sure you probably do. But you don't get, like, the Jared Stillman Center. Why are we naming it after Jared Stillman? Oh, yeah, he donated to our collective. Isn't the collective and the school supposed to be two different things? It doesn't make any sense. It's all crazy talk. It's all, I mean, again, I almost feel kind of like an old man. This is what I said in Louisville years ago when I was on the radio in a college sports city, and this topic came up because Johnny Manziel had gotten suspended at Texas A&M. And this time of the year was always a good, you know, should they pay the players? Let's take your calls in a college city on the radio. I said, look, as long as I can turn the game on, that I sit on my couch on Saturdays, I watch Louisville, and I turn the TV on. I root for the Louisville Cardinals the same way a Dallas Cowboy fan turns on the TV and roots for Dallas. As long as I can keep doing that, I don't care. I don't care. And so far, NIL hasn't really changed that. So I'm not sure, I'm not sure it moves the needle for me, but I'm also not a college sports first person. I'm a pro sports person. So I don't even know what the whole point of all this is anyways. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Derrick Henry, who never voices an opinion about anything, stood up yesterday. And where I think he and his people are completely missing the mark. In fact, he's a bad representation of this. We'll get to that next. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, those are my guys. It has been oppressively hot And Hiller is keeping you chilling all summer long with special deals to keep you relaxed and happy this summer. Tackle those necessary home system replacements this month to take advantage of these special deals. Like when you purchase select new HVAC systems, you'll get 2 Yeti Trailhead camping chairs, a Yeti Penguin 28L waterproof backpack, a Yeti Tundra 75, and 2 Yeti tumblers for free. And get special freebies on Yeti products with every new whole home generator or tankless water heater purchase. Stay chillin' all summer long. Call Hiller today. Hiller's work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services Free guarantee, and I know this because I am a Hiller customer myself. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, call the Happy Face Truck today.
Every day we are live and local.
You need to give Ron Tannehill a 2-year extension.
There haven't been too many coaching changes for the Predators.
And your source for Nashville sports.
I think that's what the Titans need.
Players who can score.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey y'all, it's Caroline Fenton, and I want to tell you about my friends over at 312 Pizza Company. 312 Pizza is my favorite place in town. It's family owned and operated, bringing you a slice of Chicago to Nashville. 312 Pizza Company specializes in deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, and all things Chicago style, always made from scratch using secret family recipes passed down generation to generation. 312 Pizza is open every day except for Tuesday and is located in Germantown with dine-in, takeout, and curbside available. Call 615-730-7888 or head to 312pizzaco.com to order. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Summit offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at their Hermitage location specialize in general orthopedics, sports medicine, and hip and knee pain and injuries. Get back to enjoying life sooner. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com. Conveniently located in the TriStar Summit Medical Center in Hermitage, right off I-40. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds are back home tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey, this is Jordan Rogers, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
Sal, this is the point that I know you want to make. Let's show the tweets, because the running backs around the league yesterday were fired up and upset about it, including
Angry is the word.
Absolutely right. Here's Christian McCaffrey. This is criminal. 3 of the best players in the entire league, regardless of position, because Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard didn't get deals done either yesterday. This is Derrick Henry responding to a post that we put up, was saying, at this point, just take the running back position out of the game. The ones that want to be great and work as hard as they can to give their all to an organization just seems like it don't even matter. I'm with every running back that's fighting to get what they deserve. All right, so Sal, you seized on those comments, I know.
Right, those are the key words from Austin Eckler, right? You poke the bear, and you're going to make us do something. So what could that something be? And Dan's right. The NFL running back market is broken, Greeny, but the NFL broke the market, and they're going to have to fix it. So let's put it into perspective, right? Let's say Saquon Barkley and the Giants were close, as Kimberly said. Maybe about $5 million a year guaranteed money close. That's 2%. 2% of the $225 million salary cap. So you're basically ruining your team for 2%. Let's put it into more perspective. NFL teams collect about $2 million per game in parking revenue. $2 million per game. 17 regular season games, 3 preseason games. That's $40 million a year just in parking.
Sal Pal, he can't believe it. Just can't believe what's happened to the running back market. And yesterday, Derrick Henry, who never has an opinion about anything, tweeted out his defense of the running back position yesterday after Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, and Josh Jacobs didn't get contracts. And every time I hear somebody talk about the running back position or defend the running back position or whatever it may be, I always say, as with everything else in life, it's about supply and demand. Derrick Henry got coerced into taking a contract extension from the Titans in 2020. If you remember, Derrick Henry led the league in rushing, carried the Titans to the AFC Championship game. Ryan Tannehill was a free agent. Jack Conklin was a free agent. And the Titans signed Tannehill to an extension. They tagged Derrick Henry, and they had to let Jack Conklin walk. And the second that Jack Conklin became a free agent, the Titans lost Derrick Henry lost whatever leverage it was that he had with the Titans. Because he was a running back. And he was a $10.5 million running back. So what could the Titans do? What could Derrick do? You could not play, made $5 million your entire career up into that point. You're going to make $10 million on the tag. You could not play, but that doesn't seem like a very wise call. And if you play and you play well, unlike other positions where you played well as a franchise tag player, now you get to go back out, they just tag you again because it's only 120% of the tag. And at $10 million, that's $12 million. Derrick Henry signed a contract for the Titans. This will be the 4th year of that deal, and he has lived up to that contract. But Derrick Henry's contract averaged $12.5 million a year. Derrick Henry has earned the 3rd and 4th year of that contract by playing well in years 1 and 2. Basically, what the Titans gave Derrick Henry was they gave him a 2-year deal with options for years 3 and 4. Because that was what Derrick was going to get with the 2 tags. That's the deal for a running back. And it's supply and demand. I hear people talk about Saquon Barkley, and I have said this about Saquon Barkley with the Giants. Take the deal. I hear, you heard in that cut from Greeny right there, Kimberly Martin says they're close, but they couldn't come to an agreement. You screwed up, Saquon. Because, again, everything in life is about supply and demand. You want to know why quarterbacks make so much money? Because for 20 years, the New England Patriots were guaranteed to be in the AFC title game. It was a shocker over a 20-year period if they were not in the AFC Championship game. Tom Brady's left. Have you watched the Patriots the last 3 years? How hard is it to replace a quarterback? I don't know. Let's see how Tampa Bay does this year. Because for the last 3 years, Tampa Bay mattered. And now they're going to try out Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask, and they may be picking 3rd overall next year. History tells us that of all these guys that are taken high in the 1st round, most of them are not going to play well. Maybe one of them becomes Mahomes, maybe 2, something like that. But it's not going to be that big. For every Josh Allen, there's a Sam Darnold. So I look at the running back position and I think, how hard is it to replace your running back? And people tell me that Saquon Barkley is the Giants' offense. And I would agree. I watched them come in here and beat the Titans in large part because of Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, very good player. But they can go get another Saquon Barkley. In fact, right now, Dalvin Cook's available. Running backs can be had. Next year, scheduled to be free agents. Tony Pollard is scheduled to be a free agent. Jonathan Taylor is scheduled to be a free agent. Saquon Barkley is scheduled to be a free agent. Derrick Henry is scheduled to be a free agent next year. So if you want a running back, you can get a running back. I mean, I know Ezekiel Elliott is not the 2017 Ezekiel Elliott, but he's still decent enough to have a job, but he doesn't right now. Running back is just not that hard of a position to replace. And because of that, you don't need a first-round pick on a running back. Derrick Henry wasn't a first-round pick. Jonathan Taylor wasn't a first-round pick. So because they're not that hard to replace, and the franchise tag system is set up the way it is, it only makes sense to draft your running back, develop your running back, and instead of giving him a massive signing bonus like the Rams did with Todd Gurley and all that money up front, you're just better off franchise tag, unless you can get him to agree to a deal that is the two tags combined. The only way out of this for a running back is A, to be a good enough running back that another team is convinced dropping a boatload of money on you would be the right decision, and be on a team where a player that team can absolutely not lose no matter what becomes a free agent. And I'll give you an example. If Jeffrey Simmons and the Titans didn't work out a deal, and so Simmons played this year on the fifth-year option, and the Titans go into the offseason, and Derrick Henry's a free agent, and Jeffrey Simmons is scheduled to be a free agent, you and I both know that if the Titans couldn't get a deal done with either of them, and so one of them was going to get to go out to free agency, it'd be Henry. You know they'd use that tag on Simmons. In that case, the star running back goes out to the free market, and then one of the other 31 teams has to think, we are this player away. And I'm not sure there's a single running back out there that teams think that they are that running back away. Dalvin Cook's pretty good. Like, I know there's tread on the tires, but Dalvin Cook is pretty darn good. And nobody is saying, let's shell out the huge money for Dalvin Cook. Running backs are easily replaceable, which is why they don't come at a premium. Quarterbacks come at a premium because when you lose Aaron Rodgers, it's really hard to find the next one. That's why. And I think, I applaud Derrick Henry for saying something. Again, Derrick Henry is incredibly quiet. I don't think he's had a controversial opinion or action in the 7 years he's been on the Titans. Derrick Henry, and I'm not saying what Derrick Henry was saying yesterday was controversial about the running back position, but Derrick stood up. But I think Derrick stood up because he probably looks at himself as like the president of the running back association. So it was like, hey, I got to step up and speak up for the brotherhood as a guy who got a second contract. Let me speak up for all my fellow running back brethren. But Derrick's contract, I don't think was a fair market value contract. I mean, when he was signing for $12.5 million a year, Christian McCaffrey was signing for $16 million a year. So, I mean, I applaud Derrick, but I think we're missing the point here when we talk about how could the Giants not, do they not understand how important Saquon Barkley is? And I'm like, no, they understand exactly how important Saquon Barkley is. They know. The Giants are a lot like the Titans. And again, Tannehill, I think, gets crapped on way more than is fair. But Tannehill is not Tannehill without Derrick Henry. And Daniel Jones, the good Daniel Jones that we saw last year, is not the good Daniel Jones without Saquon Barkley. But they can get another running back. They can get another running back. Especially now, knowing that there will be an entire year where they can scour the running back market. If Saquon had done a deal with the Giants probably aren't thinking about running backs other than Saquon in this upcoming draft. They might be thinking about it this year, and you can draft a guy in the second round who immediately comes in right away, starts, and is a good player. Just like Breece Hall in the second round was last year for the Jets. So, I mean, I think that to me, the outrage about the running back position is just people that just don't understand the facts. And I think it's crazy that Derrick Henry is trying to sit there and make a statement about it because Derrick was the one guy. He read the room. He saw, they're going to tag me twice. So I might as well take what I can get and let's get a deal done. And that's what happened. That's what Barkley should have done. But he didn't do it. Because Barkley thinks they need me. But not one running back in the NFL is needed at the level that they think they're needed in this league. I think Derrick is somewhat of an example of that. Now, I do think Derrick's different, and I'll explain that in a second. But remember when Derrick got hurt? You still ran the ball. When A.J. Brown left the team, you couldn't pass. That's the difference. 615-737-1025. We'll get to your phones on this. 615-737-1025. Plus, we haven't gotten into this yet. We predicted it. Derrick Henry just gets crapped on, and last week his own peers and league people did it. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's going down. They fight.
Jared, you're
how do you know, Joe? How do you know? And fight.
And because of that, how do you know that, though? How do you know that?
But that's okay. It's Jared and Joe. Every Wednesday at 5 p.m., Jared Stillman and Joe Rexroad debate the big topics in sports. Jared versus Joe. Presented by Pella Windows and Doors and Parman Tractor and Equipment on Stillman and Company. Wednesdays at 5 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
3 days of racing, 3 days of music, one huge weekend event. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is not just a race or a festival, it's an experience. Multiple music stations with Flo Rida, Vince Neil, Chris Jansen, Gavin DeGraw, and more. Fast cars going over 200 miles an hour. And a family fun zone with inflatables, Ferris wheels, kids games, and kid-friendly food trucks. Tickets and premium hospitality are on sale now. Go to MusicCityGP.com for tickets and get ready to experience Nashville's premier speed and sound event.
Hear that? That's Jeff Anderson. He's that guy in your neighborhood that's always making improvements to his house, his car, his yard. On your street, it's about keeping up with the Andersons. One thing you don't know is Jeff's tools are from Harbor Freight. Tools at great prices. That circular saw right there, you wouldn't believe the deal he got. Just think, when you're keeping up with the Andersons, you're saving money. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight.
There are ordinary hotels, and there's the Four Seasons. There are ordinary cars, and there's the Rolls-Royce. There are ordinary handbags, and there's Gucci. There are ordinary engagement rings, and there's Genesis. A Genesis diamond ring is unlike any other. Artistic, innovative design, handcrafted precision, exceptional detail and quality. This is why people who work at other jewelers come to Genesis for their rings. A Genesis ring is considered the gold standard in bridal, with no compromises, no cut corners, nothing short of perfection. We have the look, the style every woman dreams about. At Genesis, you'll find dozens of exclusive world-class bridal designers who are revered for their attention to detail, exceptional vision, and superior craftsmanship. A Genesis ring rises to the occasion, reflecting her style, her unique personality, her confidence, her individuality. In a world filled with ordinary, for this moment, choose extraordinary. Choose Genesis. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills, and Cool Springs.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
When it comes to Chase McCabe,
The Nashville Predators, the Titans, the NBA, college football, talk a little racing.
You get a little bit of everything.
But, hey, you know what? We're getting it done.
Join Chase McCabe weekday mornings at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins, who said he wanted to go to a team with a stable quarterback or a stable coaching staff, and he wanted to go to a team with a championship defense, and he chose the Titans. No, hey, look, you're laughing.
Yeah.
You're laughing. You're laughing. You're laughing.
I'm not the only one, by the way.
Let me put a little bit of respect on the Titans name, and I understand I've said that the wrong way, but
is that supposed to be inspirational?
Hold on a second. You could do a whole lot worse than Tannehill, DeAndre Hopkins, and Derrick Henry.
That's true.
That's not bad.
Yeah, you can also do a whole lot better.
I know. I understand that.
Fair, high register.
I understand that.
Rich trying to defend the Titans and his entire crew on that channel that nobody watches. Apparently, it's the Roku channel, which I don't even know what channel that is. I'm not a Roku guy anymore, though. I'm a Fire Stick guy. So, but apparently, his crew's laughing about the Titans. It could be worse. That is true. I want to touch on this. We were off on Friday. The NFL just so blatantly disrespected Derrick Henry, and it was even worse than I thought. So Jeremy Fowler compiles these lists, these top 10 lists at every position, and it's, amongst league executives, coaches, and players, and, here's how it shakes out. So it's not ESPN's list. It's not Jeremy Fowler's list. It is a composite of how NFL people vote on this list. And I said on the show last Monday that on Friday, when the list came out, that Derrick Henry was going to get crapped on. In fact, I said on Friday, is Derrick number one? ? Of course not. This is what the grid said. Of course not. He won't be. He never is. I bet he's not even top 3 because that's just how Derrick Henry is always treated. Now, we'll get to why I think Derrick Henry's number 1 in a second, but I pulled up the list on Friday. Even though it was off, I was like, I got to see where he ranks. I pulled up the list. Nick Chubb, Cleveland, number 1. Okay. Christian McCaffrey. Now, I expected McCaffrey to be number 1. He's number 2. Josh Jacobs, Raiders, 3. How many games did the Raiders win because of Josh Jacobs last year? Saquon Barkley, never healthy. Last year, an honorable mention. We did have a nice season. He's number 4. Derrick Henry, number 5. Derrick Henry has won the rushing title twice. He would have won it for a 3rd straight year if he hadn't broken his foot. And last year, he was 2nd in rushing in the league at the running back position. And you're going to try to tell me that Nick Chubb is a better running back than Derrick Henry. Last year, we had to deal with everybody talking about Jonathan Taylor. He's so good. He's unbelievable. And he didn't keep it up. Here's the thing about Derrick Henry. Not only is Derrick Henry unbelievably consistent, because, again, he's been at the top of the league in rushing each of the last 4 years for the most part, outside of his injury, but Derrick Henry is the only running back in today's game whose team wins games because of him. Nick Chubb's team doesn't win games because of him because Nick Chubb's team doesn't win games. Christian McCaffrey's team had been to a Super Bowl and an NFC title game before he showed up. And the second the quarterback got hurt, they were screwed in the NFC Championship game. Saquon Barkley, boy, he won games for his team once. Outside of that, they've sucked the entire time he's been there. And Josh Jacobs, I think he's been misused over the course of his career. I think he's a pretty good running back, but he ain't Derrick Henry. And the Raiders don't win because of him. The Titans win this era is because of Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. And I would put Henry first. He's the only guy. He's the only running back at the position that wins games for his team. And that's why he should be number 1. And not only wins games for his team, but has continued to win games for his team. I've been over this, the comparison between him and Josh Allen. And all I ever hear about from people is how the Titans suck. Why would DeAndre Hopkins want to go there? They suck so bad. But again, let's compare Derrick Henry and Josh Allen, because every time the Titans lose, it's always can't win with a running back. Derrick Henry lost in the wild card round, lost in the divisional round, lost in the AFC Championship game. Josh Allen lost in the wild card round, lost in the divisional round, lost in the AFC Championship game. Can't win with Josh Allen, huh? Nobody ever says that. Derrick's the only guy in this era who wins games for his team. The only other guy in this, last 15 years, the only other running back that has been a carrier, in my opinion, was Todd Gurley. And that was for about 2 or 3 years there with the Rams. And he was a carrier. But every year they want to tell me Kamara's better one year. They want to tell me Saquon's better. They want to tell me Zeke's better. They want to tell me Tony Pollard's better. They want to tell all these guys are better than Derrick. And that's just so ridiculous because those guys don't win games for their team. Derrick wins games for this team. Last year they beat Washington, and I came away from it and said, you won because you had Derrick Henry and Jeffrey Simmons, and they didn't. Kevin is up next on the running back market. Thank you for waiting patiently. Go ahead, Kevin. Kevin. I don't know if that's our end. They got these massive storms that are coming through right now. I don't know if that's our end or not. Or if that's, normally I dump on people with bad phones. I go, it's like, let's upgrade here. Let's get a better phone. I can't knock him on that one because I'm just looking outside here at SEC Media Days at these storms, and they look pretty bad. So I am going to give that caller the benefit of the doubt. And I'll say we should probably, until this clears up a little bit, maybe stay away from the phones for a hot second. So we'll just stay with the text. That'd probably be a better plan right there. Texter into the text line says, Barkley is different. Is the difference in the Giants making or missing the playoffs? Every situation is different. I wouldn't pay Jacobs in Vegas. Okay, let's use this. Let's say Saquon Barkley's the reason the Giants make the playoffs, which, great. Why can I not just tag him twice? Why do I need to do more than just tag him twice? Or, hear me out on this, I could just tag him this year and pay him $10 million, which is probably his value, and then tag him again next year and pay him his value. Tito says, if Malik Willis turns into Daniel Jones, is he worth $40 million a year? Hell no. Titans fans would be furious if they paid him that much money. First of all, I understand Daniel Jones is not Patrick Mahomes, but that's disrespectful to Daniel Jones to act like Malik Willis has the potential to turn into Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is a solid starting quarterback in the NFL. And guess what? The going rate for a solid starting quarterback. This is why I tell you people when you bitch about Tannehill's money, that I tell you people, the going rate for a solid starting quarterback in the NFL is $40 million. And it is hard to replace Daniel Jones. It is hard to replace that. I know you'd rather have Mahomes. I'd rather have Mahomes too. But let's see how Tampa Bay goes in trying to replace Tom Brady. It's not that easy. New Orleans has tried for years to replace Drew Brees for 2 years. Finally, they were like, Derek Carr, you average, mediocre quarterback, please take our $100 million. That's why it's so hard to replace that guy. So, and not only that, if I tag Jones, it's $35 million, $36 million this year, and then it's 120% of that next year. Now, I'm not doing that. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I see a bunch of your calls. We'll get to them. I really will stay with the text right now because it does look, it looks pretty bad out there. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. Stillman & Company, we are live here at SEC Media Days. Coming up next, I feel like I'm starting to become something that when I took this job, I promised I would absolutely, positively never do. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, 102.5, 106 through the game.
It's been an offseason of change for the Nashville Predators.
still going to be a relatively young roster. Johansson's gone, Duchesne's gone.
The Nashville Predators are interested, potentially, in a Brett Pesce.
They did trade Ekholm, Granlund, Tanner Jeannot.
What's next for Smashville's team?
They want to get younger. They're going to have to move a piece.
We have you covered with every move on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Gear up for back to school at Electronic Express. Don't miss an LG 75-inch 4K TV for only $699, or a Maytag front-load laundry pair just $699 each. Guaranteed lowest prices in every department at Electronic Express, including computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, and more. Don't miss out on an Avanti portable ice maker for only $89, or an Acer gaming monitor just $129. Plus, get up to 60 months special financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey, it's Jared for PhD Weight Loss. I love the PhD Weight Loss program, and I've blown past the 20-pound mark. And I've done it all while enjoying the summer and traveling on vacations. I love the PhD program because it's simple for me to understand and to activate. And quite frankly, because it works. I feel so much better about myself because I feel in control of my weight, and I get excited when I continue to see my progress. If you're someone who has struggled to lose weight, go online to myphdweightloss.com and check it out for yourself. Learn about the program, the coaching, and the guarantee. If you don't get within 5 pounds of your target weight by the end of your program, PhD will continue to coach you for free until you do. That's PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers organization and fans, online at myphdweightloss.com.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Now that free agent wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins is getting set to sign his new contract with the Tennessee Titans, the focus moves to how much can Hopkins still help the team on the field. Longtime Houston sports reporter John McClain was on with Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace earlier today and said he thinks Hopkins still has some gas left in the tank.
He has not been used up the last 2 years. All the beating he takes from double coverages, he hadn't 15 games he didn't play, so it's almost like he's got an extra season. And since speed was never his strength, that's why he was a 28th pick. He's not going to lose a step if he didn't have it. You know, his strength has always been getting off the line of scrimmage, great hands, great route running, physical, takes the ball away, goes hard on every play. I think it was a great move for the Titans.
SEC Media Days continue here in downtown Nashville. The coaches speaking today are Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze, Georgia head coach Kirby Smart, Mississippi State head coach Zach Arnett, and Vandy head coach Clark Lee. The Nashville Sounds return to First Horizon Park tonight as they begin a series versus Jacksonville, the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. Pre-game coverage with Jeff Hem begins at 6:20 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
And a score!
You can run different offenses.
The doors on the board.
Off the field, on the field.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios, SEC Media Days. Our coverage presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Now, I don't know if I've done this on the air the last 2 days. I have certainly done it plenty off the air, as apparently so is Joe. I have crapped on SEC Media Days. I mean, look, and we're going to have, some nice stuff here. That, Greg Sankey will be on tomorrow and things like that. But for the most part, I think SEC Media Days is kind of stupid. I think it's like somebody had a tweet earlier today that was like Kirby Smart got asked as many questions about Georgia's problems inside their program as he did Northwestern's problems. And I may have to go into the main room for some of these press conferences and mix it up with some uncomfortable questions or something just to pique my interest. But, I don't know about you guys, the idea of the coach getting up there. And if I did a show in, Shoals, Alabama, I'm sure that, people would really care about this stuff. But, the coach gets up there and says, he's 287 pounds last year. We worked on getting him down from that. And I just think that that's so stupid. But I say all of this because when I took this job 8 years ago, I had never been to an SEC Media Days, and I wanted to go so bad. And I think about that. And I think about how spoiled I've become that I'm sitting here kind of looking at all these guys being like, nah. But I bring this up because 8 years ago when I took this job out of Louisville, Kentucky, I told our general manager at the time and our program director at the time, I said, I am not going to be a local cheerleader. I had worked on a station in Louisville in which we had partnered with the university, and they had put a guy on a show with me who once wanted to do a topic that he thought Bobby Petrino was a better coach than Nick Saban. I couldn't handle that. That was too much for me. So I said when I took the job, I'm not going to be a Titans cheerleader. I'm not going to be a Predators cheerleader. I'm not going to do any of that. And I have to say, when I first started 8 years ago, I kind of felt, I'm not a fan, I'm an analyst. And over the years, that's kind of morphed into what we have today, which is I am a fan of the Titans, I am a fan of the Predators, but I will rip their tushies if I feel like they need it. And I actually think one of the biggest strengths of the Jared and the GM program when we got off the ground was that we were Titan fans and we were Predators fans, and you knew it. Now, we kept it real, but you knew it. Which takes me to this. I feel like an ardent defender of the Titans right now, and it's starting to make me a little uncomfortable. When I listen to people talk about the Titans, and the DeAndre Hopkins signing, I think, is a great example of this. When I listen to people talk about the Titans, it's like, oh, yeah, well, they signed DeAndre Hopkins, but Ryan Tannehill's the quarterback. He sucks. And it's like, whoa. Ryan Tannehill's not Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow, and we're not contending that Ryan Tannehill is Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow. But Ryan Tannehill is certainly not as bad as some of these bozos that these teams put out at quarterback, especially the bozos that the Titans put out at quarterback last year. I feel the need to defend Ryan Tannehill. You can win with Ryan Tannehill. You can't win the Super Bowl, but you can't win the Super Bowl with Dak Prescott. It's the same. And I don't ever hear that when it comes to Dak. When it comes to Tannehill, oh, my God. It's like, I don't think you can win the Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson. And if I say that, you go on national TV, oh, no, you definitely can win with Lamar Jackson. He was league MVP 4 years ago. Who cares? You can't win the Super Bowl. You can't do that. You can't win the Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. You can't do that. But nobody ever talks about it. Then there's Derrick Henry. Again, ranked fifth. The fifth best running back in the NFL behind Josh Jacobs, behind Nick Chubb, guys whose teams never win. What? This team wins because of Derrick. It's like I feel the need to defend Derrick Henry's value. Whenever they talk about the Titans in Jacksonville, it's like a foregone conclusion that the Titans are not going to win this division because Jacksonville is unstoppable with their great coach and their franchise quarterback. And I'm like, wait a minute. You do know that Josh Dobbs, until the last play of the game, outplayed Jacksonville's quarterback last year in a had-to-have-it game the last week of the season. So he might be improving, but let's not put him in Joe Burrow's category yet. That's all I'm saying. And so I feel like I defend the Titans on that. I defend the Titans on Tannehill. I defend them on Henry. I think the addition of Hopkins is a difference maker. I defend their ability to compete when all these mock drafts for next year estimate that the Titans will be picking third or fourth. I feel like every single one of those opinions about the Titans is the right opinion. I feel like that is fair. That to sit and look at Tannehill and think that he's some quarterback that can't win is ridiculous. He's not Zach Wilson. And he never has been. To think that Derrick Henry is not still an elite running back simply because the Titans didn't make the playoffs last year with that horrible team that they put out there, that's not fair. And to think that Jacksonville has all of a sudden become the Tom Brady New England Patriots, that's ridiculous. And yet, it just feels like positive take after positive take after positive take, defending of the Titans. I feel like I'm starting to defend the Titans so much that it's making me uncomfortable. The Titans added DeAndre Hopkins, and throughout this entire process, everybody said he should go to the Patriots before he goes to the Titans. And I never understood that. Like, Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Tannehill? I don't think that. Now, again, the consensus, I believe, is yes. The Patriots in that division with Aaron Rodgers and the Buffalo Bills and the receivers in Miami, that division, you'd rather go there with a team that already has some receivers than this team that clearly has a giant hole at receiver number 2, is offering you more money, has a more experienced quarterback, has Derrick Henry, and plays in a worse division. I don't get it. And so this has led to me just this uncomfortable level over the last month or so where I feel like I am defending the Titans, the same organization that I have just given the hammer to over the years. When they fired Mike Mularkey after making the playoffs and winning a playoff game, I annihilated the Titans for that. When the Titans fired John Robinson in the middle of the season, I went after them. I have pushed all my chips in on ripping the quarterback, on getting after the coach. I still get after the coach now. This coach, I don't know what it is about Vrabel, but he never gets the blame for anything. And I don't think that's right because Vrabel promoted Todd Downing and then kept him after the 2021 season. He should get blamed for that. So I still rip him. But, I mean, Ian, I got to tell you, I am starting to become uncomfortable with how much I have been defending the Titans lately.
Well, I guess I could see why you would feel that way, but I think your intentions and your thoughts are coming from the right place. And
I can't. The one thing I'll never do, and I've never done this before, is I will never have a take that I don't believe. Like, I will never come on the air and tell you something that I think is false because I don't have to. And at this point in my career, I think it's beneath me to lie to the audience. And I think there's a lot of people that do it. I think there's a lot of people that want to protect relationships and things like that. And I've just determined that I can't do the kind of show that I want to do if I'm trying to be buddy-buddy with everybody. I just can't do it. Can't do it. So if you're going to be buddy-buddy with me, you're going to have to realize that if I think you screw up, I'm going to have to rip your ass. And if you can do that, then I think we can be buddy-buddy. If you're sensitive, I don't think you'll be able to do it, and I'm just going to have to go on because this is my job. And yet, every take that I feel like I have, this idea that Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Tannehill, says who? Who decided that Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill? And based off of what? Like, what are we basing this off of? That Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Tannehill. I mean, so it's things like that. It's like when I see a list that has Derrick Henry as the 5th best running back in the league, and then I feel like a crybaby that's supporting my own team, like, oh, no, they don't treat us right. That's not fair. And I never want to be that. In fact, oftentimes, especially when it comes to the Predators, I don't know what it is, but I get a special joy out of when you guys get caught up in some false narrative, and I sit there and tell you that it's all fake, and you yell and scream at me, and I kind of enjoy it. Like, I enjoy being the voice of reason with your fandom, because it's also my fandom. And yet, I just feel like I've been too positive. I just feel like it's too much positivity with the Titans. Texter says in our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, Texter says just another local team homer. Feels that way sometimes. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I'm starting to feel like Chris Sanders. Like, 615-737-1025. I need to be like Derek. He thinks Jacksonville's going to go 17-0 this year. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in, Stillman and Company, here on the program. And there is one other little piece of the DeAndre thing that I think is kind of a big deal. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 The Game.
Are you always on the go? We've got you covered. Download the Game Nashville app from your app store and listen to us wherever you are.
Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad. It's Chase McCabe.
Caroline, Willie, D-Mays.
Stillman and Company.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
Good station. I listen to it all the time.
1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Drive. Hey guys, it's Q, Murr, and Sal from Practical Jokers, and we are excited to announce our brand new Drive tour.
True TV and Practical Jokers, the Drive Tour, starring Q, Murr, and Sal. July 27th, the Opry House.
This is going to drive me insane.
Tickets on sale now at Opry.com. 16 years of age or older suggested to attend. Produced by Outback Presents.
There's nobody on the planet who's as picky when it comes to diamonds as Genesis Diamonds owner Boaz Ramon.
I'm very, very selective on the diamond that I pick.
Indeed, Boaz will look at 2,000 diamonds on the world market and find maybe 2 or 3 that meet his criteria.
What most people don't know, and even jewelers, a diamond has much more than the 4 C's. He has maybe 20 C's.
Like the diamond's luster grade or brilliance level, its feathering, its inclusions, its table, its polish, its symmetry, even the diamond's own DNA or X-ray report, which most jewelers don't even know about.
I refuse to sell diamonds that don't go through our very, very strict criteria.
Which means a Genesis diamond is one she can be proud to wear, with the most sparkle and brilliance and real intrinsic value.
This is my goal, to go all over the world and find only the best hand-selected diamond.
Genesis Diamonds, setting the highest quality standards in the jewelry business. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Hose and Belting Specialties in Murfreesboro is your local source for hydraulic, air, water, and chemical hoses, along with conveyor, timing, and metric belt needs. They stock metric fittings for both air and hydraulic applications. Hose and Belting Specialties stocks Parker hydraulic hoses and fittings, Goodyear Conti-Tech industrial hoses, and V-belts, just to name a few of their lines. For any of your industrial needs, call 615-895-HOSE, 615-895-HOSE.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
It's a brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Vrabel sold him on it. And that's all this was. Free agency is salesmanship. It's a little bit like college football inserted into pro football. Mike Vrabel's younger than Belichick, probably a little less rigid, former player, and he sold him. And I don't think, we're not talking about D-Hop as Randy Moss is going to change everything, but if you told me DeAndre Hopkins, now with Trey Burks, is worth a game in that division, the difference between 9-10 or 8-9, they got a very good defense, that's the difference between not making the playoffs and making the playoffs. It's a weak division. There's not a lot. There's only one weak division in the AFC. The other three, AFC East, AFC North, and AFC West, are stacked. Tennessee needed him, and Tennessee got him.
Good take, Colin Cowherd, yesterday on the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. So I do wonder one thing. Now, I'm not going to tell you what all these toss-up games are because this is basically going to be what Monday's show is. Every year, on the Monday of the opening week of training camp, we always give our official Titans expectations. And we divide the games by saying, here are the games that the Titans will win, like at home versus the Texans. They're going to win that game. The games they should win, like at Tampa Bay. Games that are toss-ups. Games they should lose, like Cincinnati at home. And games that they absolutely, positively will lose. And then what we do is we take the games that they will win, should win. We take the games they should lose, will lose. And then we split the toss-ups, and then that comes up with the definition of our expectation for the Titans. Which takes me to the DeAndre Hopkins edition. I was just glancing at the schedule, and I thought, there's a lot of toss-up games on the schedule. Now, I know the analytic people, they try to come up with these numbers that say, I think Willie was talking about this, that like DeAndre Hopkins takes you from 7.9 wins to 8.3 wins or something like that. And I don't know how they come up with their numbers. I'm not going to call them all fake, but I do kind of feel like they are. I think about it like this. Last year, you had the 30th ranked offense in the NFL. You had probably the stupidest play caller in the league, and you didn't have any receivers. Dennis Daly at left tackle, that was bad too. And how many toss-up games did you have last year? And how many toss-up games came down to the wire, and because of some inadequacy that you had, you lost? Kansas City on Sunday Night Football, toss-up game. But you're throwing the ball to Chris Conley and Nick Westbrook-Akina with Malik Willis, you lose. That's Ryan Tannehill and DeAndre Hopkins. It might be a little different. And I think about that. The Chargers last year. Toss-up game comes right down to the end. Herbert makes a throw on the sidelines. You lose. Now look, your first game with Indianapolis, could argue that was a toss-up. The game with the Raiders that came down to a 2-point conversion at the end, you could say that was a toss-up. And so you won some toss-ups too. But I think about this and how different that it's going to be because DeAndre Hopkins is in there and not Racey McMath and not Chris Moore and not Nick Westbrook-Akina. And I look at Saints, kind of feels like a game most people think the Saints are going to win, but I think the Titans are probably going to win that game. That's probably a toss-up. Chargers, last year was a toss-up. This game's at home. They still have that stupid coach. Browns, feels like a toss-up. Everybody always expects Cleveland to be good, yet almost they never are. Ravens in London. Now, everyone's going to say that the Ravens should be huge favorites in that game. And I saw Sal Powell today talking about how he thinks the Ravens are the second best team in the AFC, which is really starting to get up my craw.
Yeah, you are out on the Ravens.
I just don't think Odell Beckham's any good. That's the change of the teams. Odell Beckham. That's it. I don't think Odell Beckham's any good. I don't think this is 2018. I don't think he's any good. Would you say at the Steelers is probably a toss-up game? Probably. At Miami, I think it's a toss-up game. People tell you it's not, but I think it's probably a toss-up.
Lean
so
Miami
you see
on that.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's that?
Probably lean Miami towards that one. Probably a should lose, but only because it's on the road. It'll be fun.
I'm not sure I'm going to go there. So I guess this is a long story short of like there's a lot of toss-up games on the schedule, or there's a lot of teams that might be good. I'm not sure are elite. I don't think any of those teams are elite. Cleveland, the Chargers, the Saints. I mean, I could see the Saints win their division, but I don't think they're an elite team. I could see the Ravens making the playoffs, but I don't think they're an elite team. And so I guess the point I'm making is if there's all these toss-up games that are involved there, I know the analytic people can say, oh, yeah, no, you go from 7.9 wins to 8.3 wins. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like how many games are you going to be with are you going to play with a razor-thin margin? And that having DeAndre Hopkins, as opposed to the crap bums that you had out there last year, how many of these games do you win because you don't have a crap bum out there? And I think the number's a little bit higher. It reminds me of Floyd's theory that everybody was 8-8. Now, there's the elite teams that are going to be 14-2 or something like that. Kansas City is one of those teams. Cincinnati, despite what that one texter said yesterday, Cincinnati's one of those teams. But for the most part, everybody else is 8-8. And then the teams that really, really stink, like Houston, they really, really stink, and they're going to win 4 games. Everybody else is 8-8. And then there's 3 or 4 plays during the course of the season that make you 10-6, or make you 6-4, or make you 6-10. And I wonder, how many of those plays does DeAndre Hopkins make a difference for? It has to be more than the difference between 7.9 to 8.3 or whatever it may be. Texter says, phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Texter says, if the Titans can stay healthy, which has been an Achilles heel for 2 years running, they will be a surprise team to many this season. Adding Hopkins will be the move that allows the Titans to accentuate the talent of Chigakonkwo and Treylon Burks. I don't disagree with that. It will force teams to account for more than Derrick Henry and the gifts of a moronic offensive coordinator like Downing. The Titans win the South, take the odds. You know, I do want to know, like, the difference between Downing and Kelly. How big of a difference is it? And Downing did some dumb stuff, man. Texter says, you're more of a shock jock for sports coverage than a hardcore homer. I don't think that, like, shock jock, I used to, like, take offense when people say, you're a shock jock. Like, a shock jock is the kind of guy who, in my opinion, you know, I'll give you an example of the difference between, like, what I think I do and what a shock jock does. So Donald Trump is a very polarizing topic. That's probably fair to say, right? So a couple years ago, Mike Vrabel was doing some kind of event that was advertised on our station. It was advertised everywhere. There was a giant billboard with Donald Trump's face on it. And Mike Vrabel was like part of that event. And the reason why, here's the difference, is if I had made a big deal about that, or if I had asked him questions, you know, what do you think about being associated or something like that, that to me is shock jock. Like, you're only associating him with the most polarizing president maybe ever. You're only doing that if you're a host, or I would only be doing that to get a rise out of him and get a rise out of people. But I don't do stuff like that because I think it's a waste of time. Me saying I think that the right tackle stinks, that's not a shock jock take. That's just telling it like it is. So that's the line I draw, where I differentiate it. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Trevor Maddich will join us next. His reaction to DeAndre Hopkins with the Titans. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
all the big plays.
And we are done. Vandy 24-21.
All the big stories.
I'm sure Vandy will be a much better team if Clark Lee is the coach.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
What a stop by UC Sarah.
Then he wouldn't end up on my team.
Driving his way to victory lane.
I think that's the right strategy.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
In countries around the world, people don't have free speech. They can be harassed, jailed, and punished for expressing their honest opinions. That's why for more than 20 years, the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, or FIRE, has been fighting to ensure that America never...
Election Day in Davidson County is August 3rd. Don't forget to cast your vote for mayor, vice mayor, at-large council members, district council members, and Tennessee House of Representatives District 51. This important election will help shape the future of our region. Early voting is from July 14th through 29th. If necessary, the runoff election will take place September 14th. For more information on registration, early voting, and polling locations, visit the link at thegamenashville.com.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds are back home tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
This is Greg McElroy, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Stillman and Company again live at SEC Media Days. Even though I think sometimes SEC Media Days can be, a little silly. But that's okay. We got some SEC talk that we will get into with Trevor Maddich, who joins us now in the program, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. But we can't start on that, Trevor. We have to start on your reaction. The DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes are over. Trevor, your reaction, DeAndre as a Titan.
Absolutely love it. Just absolutely love it, Jared. They needed this not just for the receiver room, but they needed this for Ryan Tannehill, because for at least the first 6 weeks, the offensive line is going to be without their starting right tackle. And there's some question whether or not Nicholas Petit-Frere at right tackle going into a second year was going to be a dominant player anyway. And so it gives Tannehill an extra weapon that's got experience in the league to be able to get the ball out of his hand more quickly and stress the defense so they can't just come up and load the box against Derrick Henry all the time. And as I look at this impact on Tannehill, I kind of feel for the guy. I mean, for the last several years, he has had literally no one to throw to. No one to throw to. And yet still, when he's been healthy, they've been able to do something. I mean, last year they were, 7-3 before he got hurt with no one to throw to. Then he gets hurt. They end up losing their last 7 games. But I think now with DeAndre Hopkins, you're going to see Tannehill look that way, because finally he's got an experienced NFL receiver that if he can develop chemistry with, he'll be looking to early and often. I think there'll be a lot of targets going Hopkins' way because of that. Because who else is Tannehill going to trust? And this possibly being Tannehill's last year here, he's either going to retire, in which case, whatever. But if he still wants to continue to play, whether in Tennessee or somewhere else, he's going to want to have a bang-up year, and he's going to use every skill that DeAndre Hopkins can present.
Trevor, it's funny you bring up Tannehill and his situation, because when I saw a 2-year contract for DeAndre Hopkins, I thought that, I was a little surprised, because it felt like, they were kind of all just gearing up for one last year, one last go at it, the last dance with Tannehill, Henry, Byard. But then they signed DeAndre to a 2-year deal, and it makes me wonder if the Titans are thinking, hey, if we play well this year, let's run it back again. What do you think?
Why wouldn't you? Tannehill's not that expensive as starting quarterbacks go. He understands this system. He's comfortable here. I think that if Will Levis doesn't step up or Malik Willis, if neither one of them steps up and shows that they can take this team where they want to go, if they're not ready yet, then why wouldn't you bring Tannehill back? And as you look at the ability to do it from a salary cap standpoint, Hopkins is getting an average of 13 to 16 million a year for 2 years, depending on
Something like
incentives
that.
and things
you know
like
what's
that.
funny, Trev? We don't even know the guaranteed money yet. Like Ian Rappaport
No.
reported the incentives, like every single incentive, and we don't even know the guaranteed money, which means the agent probably doesn't want us to know the money.
Well, that's possible, and if that's the case, then maybe it's lower than people expect with that number on the contract. And if that's the case, it could be interesting what kind of dissatisfaction might be brewing beneath the surface. But right now, that's all speculation. But see, I look at Hopkins. I mean, he's getting that money. I mean, 13 to 15 million for 2 years, and that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of money, but not when you pool the wide receiver room for the Titans and then the tight ends. So their primary pass catchers, nobody else is getting paid, are they? So you got one guy that's getting paid good money, but not great money. Everybody else is getting paid very little. And as you look at the balance of salary cap with the primary pass catchers, the Titans are still way ahead on that. Now, they're overbalanced at safety. They've spent a lot of money on the defensive front and their pass rushers, which is normal. Maybe a little over on running back, but I think Henry's worth it. But I think when you look at bringing in DeAndre Hopkins, it's not like they broke the bank to get him here and will cost them in other places.
Trevor Matich is with us, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trev, how do you think the Titans now stack up with Jacksonville? Because it didn't really move the needle betting-wise as far as the odds for the AFC South.
I think a lot of it will have to do with the progression of quarterback Trevor Lawrence. He's got the potential to be awesome. He's got the potential to be Joe Burrow, but he hasn't shown it. He's had spurts, he's had sparks, and then there's been times when he's been utterly awful. And so if he takes that next step forward, then it's going to really be a quarterback battle between Tannehill and Lawrence, because other than that, I think that the Titans have some advantages. I think the Titans, especially on defense, especially with the pass rush, have a better ability to be able to degrade opposing quarterbacks. Now, there's an issue with receivers still, but that, with Hopkins here now, that helps. But I think overall, the best way to look at how these teams stack up against one another is to look at their last game of the regular season last year, where Josh Dobbs, bless his heart, love him, but he was signed off the Steelers practice squad, I believe, just a few weeks before starting that pivotal game that if the Titans would have won, they would have made the playoffs. And they were ahead with about 3 minutes to go when on third down, Dobbs fumbled the ball and it was a scoop and score for the Jaguars defense, and that was the difference in the game. Well, you look at how the Titans played against Jacksonville in that game. Jacksonville with their all-star number 1 pick in the draft quarterback. Tennessee with Josh Dobbs, bless his heart, I love him, and it was a fair fight all the way through to the end. Now, if Tannehill can stay healthy, you add DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I get it that Jacksonville adds some people too, but I said this on your show. I mean, you and I talked about this many weeks ago. I think that Tennessee wins the division. Part of the reason is they do have the advantage that Jacksonville plays the first place schedule and Tennessee does not. That includes the fact that Jacksonville plays the Chiefs and Tennessee does not. And so, they only need an even break to be able to get over that hump.
Trevor Matich is with us. Trevor, how big of a deal do you think it is that this deal got done before training camp, as opposed to during training camp, or even like Jadeveon Clowney got done right before the first game?
It's important because of the chemistry with Tannehill. That's the most important thing. The second thing is I hope that DeAndre Hopkins will be in town like from the very beginning, because he's missed not quite half of each of the last 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening is, on the one hand, he doesn't get beat up as much during the last 2 seasons because he just missed so many games. But the other thing is that his soft tissue wasn't conditioned the way it normally would be over the course of a full season unless he's overworked or unless he's injured. So the Titans, it's critical that they get DeAndre Hopkins' soft tissues up to game speed. And I think they will take that kind of slowly in training camp. So getting him signed before training camp, as long as he's in town working now with their strength staff, doesn't just give him the opportunity to work with Tannehill and get integrated with the team and any tweaks to the system, et cetera. It also gives him a chance to work with the Titans trainers and strength staff to get his soft tissue squared away, because the worst thing that could happen was for him to jump into training camp, do too much too soon, and end up with a nagging groin or a nagging hamstring or something like that.
Do you still have high expectations for Hopkins, even though he's had the
yeah.
PED suspension and he had the injury 2 years ago? And because there's a lot of talk, Trev, about this kind of being a comparison to Julio Jones.
Yeah, I think they're a different kind of player. Hopkins, he wins by being an outstanding route runner. He wins by understanding body language of a defender, knowing how to stem a route to make his cut after the defender flips his hips or at the moment when he's got the best advantage. Then when the ball comes in, even when the defender is there, Hopkins excels at winning fights for the football. And so in that regard, I think he's going to be just fine as long as he stays healthy. But again, I think he's going to get just tons of targets because I think Tannehill is flat out sick and tired of throwing to people that have no experience or at least no relatively elite talent level in the NFL. They haven't shown it yet anyway. And Hopkins has shown throughout his career that when everything is right with him physically, he does have elite talent level. He doesn't have to be the same guy he was in 2019 with the Texans, but he needs to be that guy that Tannehill can trust and know where he's going to be and trust what he can do. So I expect that to happen. As far as the PEDs go, there's some speculation that he may have been taking PEDs for a longer time than just the year he got busted, and that might have helped him. I don't know that that's a concern. If it turns out that he ends up with all kinds of injuries, especially soft tissue injuries, going into this season, then I think people will start to speculate on that from a conspiracy standpoint. But, it seemed to me that he was trying to get over the injuries that kept him out the year before, and that's where the PED thing came from. And of course, he will tell you that it was inadvertent and he didn't even realize that he did it. And something was in his body that he didn't understand was not supposed to be there. So, I don't know that I'm ready to go there yet. I just think that I expect incredible production from him because, two words, who else?
I think it's a fair point. Although I am kind of bullish on both Burks and Okonkwo this year. Trevor, one thing that keeps coming up with the Titans is the idea of, okay, great, now you got a receiver in DeAndre Hopkins, and yeah, I think you and I are both kind of optimistic about the young tight end and the young receiver, but the line is still an issue, and part of me is just glad Dennis Daly's not on that line anymore. Another part of me is nervous about Aaron Brewer starting at center. It's nervous about Andre Dillard at left tackle, and it's nervous about the 6-game suspension to Nicholas Petit-Ferrer. How do you feel about the Titans line?
Yeah, last year that line was terrible. I believe that the analytics showed that the Titans left tackles, the guys that rotated in there, gave up more sacks and pressures than any other team in the NFL at that position. So that it's a fair point for you to make that point. I think the offensive line is going to be better this year than it was last year. And it doesn't have to be great. It just has to be not awful. I am really worried about how the right tackle position shakes out because they need to have continuity on that line. And right now they're just not going to get it. If they put Brunskill out from right guard to right tackle and then move him back in when Petit-Ferrer comes back in, then you've got a guy that sat out the first 6 weeks while everybody else is in mid-season form, essentially. And now he's stepping in, trying to get his feet under him at right tackle after the suspension. Now everybody's got to get used to a different position on the right side. There's a lot of reasons that the offensive line's disruption is a big problem. That to me is a big reason why it was even more important to sign DeAndre Hopkins after the suspension of their right tackle, Nicholas Petit-Frere, because teams are going to game plan to attack that spot from a pass rush standpoint. Safeties are going to come up knowing that Tannehill won't have time to take a deep drop and throw the ball deep down the field like he would if he had better protection. That will gum up the short passing lanes. And so having Hopkins there, it's an extra target who's very crafty underneath that will allow Tannehill to get that ball out more quickly. It also means that Treylon Burks won't have the top cover guy on the defense covering him. That guy will probably be covering Hopkins. Burks has a better individual matchup, often one-on-one, because the attention will probably go to Hopkins, and that will allow the ball to come out more quickly. There's a whole bunch of dominoes. If I assume going into the season, until the offensive line proves otherwise, that this offensive line is going to be one of the worst in the league, and that Derrick Henry is going to have all kinds of problems getting uncorked in the running game. That means the passing game is that much more critical until that line kind of gels a little bit. And that is one of the reasons I thought that signing DeAndre Hopkins took on even greater importance when they had the suspension at right tackle.
More with Trevor. We'll get into the SEC as we're here at SEC Media Days. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
When it comes to Nashville sports,
Locking up Jeffrey Simmons, clearly that was a priority for them.
he knows his stuff
A little bit good, a little bit bad.
and knows how to push the right buttons.
He's coming off an ACL tear, and he's 25 years old, so you cannot ignore that.
Join Outkick's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company. Withrow
What I hate more than anything is people that are phony and not true to themselves.
is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Gypsy Kings featuring Tonino Baliardo return to Nashville with a concert that will take you on a trip down memory lane. The Gypsy Kings will be performing their greatest hits November 4th at TPAC Andrew Jackson Hall. For you to dance and enjoy an unforgettable night. Tickets on sale through ToninoBaliardo.com. A Loud and Live production.
Being value conscious and getting the most for your money is so important these days, and that's why it's more important than ever to shop at Genesis Diamonds, the undisputed value leader.
Part of the education at Genesis Diamonds is we explain to you how we travel the world and purchase our diamonds, how we buy in bulk, we pay cash for our diamonds so we can save every possible percent to save you money on your diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds Vice President David Cooper.
There are no middlemen, there are no other wholesalers or dealers, so we cut out all of those extra added markups and pass those savings on to you.
When you combine that unmatched value with a totally no-pressure shopping experience, you know you're in the right place.
Because we do not work on commission, our sole purpose is to make sure you get exactly what you want. There's nothing in it for us personally, whether you spend $1,000 or $100,000.
That's why at Genesis, people often end up spending less than they had budgeted.
Our goal is to purely present you with options so you can choose exactly what you want.
The value you want, the experience you deserve. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Golfers, swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops. We've been serving golfers since 1968. Let us help you find the hottest gear from bags, balls, shoes, and apparel. All in stock at the best prices. Come in and test drive the latest arrivals from Titleist, TaylorMade, Callaway, Ping, and more. While you're there, get custom fit by one of our golf experts. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Shop us in store or online at edwinwattsgolfshops.com.
They combine hard-hitting journalism.
The Titans asked Kevin Byard to take a pay cut.
Strong-willed opinions.
There's hot takes and then there's like weird takes. Yeah. This is a weird take.
And sometimes some old man takes.
I'm excited about it. So do I gyrate embarrassingly?
To create the perfect morning show, they are Robbie and Rex Road. Mornings from 6 to 9. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Trevor Maddich is with us here, presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters, live from SEC Media Days here in downtown Nashville. So, Trevor, I used to love SEC Media Days. I did. Honestly, it's lost some of its luster to me. And I think it's in large part because the coaches and the players show up here. And the players, I mean, they're in college. They're not trained to do this. But it's like the coaches show up and they say, what can I do to not get in trouble? And not, let's keep it real. And I don't know if it's the proliferation of all the different media out here and everything else, but I think this is all kind of silly. What do you make of it?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is the Hippocratic oath of preseason football, first do no harm. Especially last year when that spat between Nick Saban, Alabama's head coach, and Jimbo Fisher, Texas A&M's head coach, over NIL and whether Fisher was buying players or not, and if Saban actually accused him of that, he says he didn't, and all that stuff was wonderful. It was delicious for fans. It was so much fun, and really kind of established Texas A&M as the Kardashians of the SEC, which is fun. And I think everybody looked at that and said, "Nah, we don't want to do that again." And I'll bet you Commissioner Greg Sankey has kind of put the word out behind the scenes that, hey, people, let's keep the focus on football and not have too much fun here.
Trevor, Clark Lee got a contract extension. Terms not released because it's Vanderbilt, but he came on the show yesterday, and he said it's through the fall of 2029. I have to be honest with you. I think Clark Lee's doing a great job. And I had a buddy of mine that's a Vandy fan text me and say, wait a minute, weren't they like 1-10, and then the next year they're 5-7, and you give a contract extension for that? And I am very, very anti-extension just to give it. Jeremy Pruitt got an extension, and I said, why? He's doing an okay job. And when you do an okay job, you should get to keep coaching. You shouldn't just get an extension. But I don't have a problem with the Clark Lee extension at Vanderbilt. What do you make of that?
I think it's great. Clark Lee is I'm kind of surprised that Vanderbilt got him, actually, because before he came to Nashville, he was a highly respected defensive coordinator at Notre Dame under Brian Kelly, who's now at LSU, of course. And he could have either stayed there, Clark Lee, or he could have gone to any one of a number of schools, or he could have waited for something better to come up. But he's a Vanderbilt guy, and he got the assurances from Vanderbilt's administration that they would back him. And so he came to Vanderbilt. He could have gone to a lot of different places. And the fact that he's chosen to stay and they've chosen to commit to him is huge. It's huge that they've got like a $600 million plus, construction project going on there in the facilities and the stadium, et cetera. That's massive, because sort of the running, I don't want to say joke, but the running narrative was that the facilities there were so incredibly bad that any recruit that could actually play the game would walk in and say, okay, you guys aren't committed to football, just because they could see the state of the facilities, and they turn around and walk out the door. Well, now all of a sudden the eye candy is going to be there. The commitment is going to be apparent like it is in other places. And I think the combination of such an outstanding coach in Clark Lee, the commitment that he has to that school, which would only happen if he thought that the school committed back to the football program, and the new facilities, is going to put Vanderbilt in a position to compete like you see smart guy schools compete in other conferences, Stanford and the military academies, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Trevor Maddich is with us. I do wonder, this would be the question, if DeAndre Hopkins hadn't signed with the Titans, and this were the traditional SEC Media Day shows that we've done over the last half decade or whatever it may be, I always found myself, we would just bring on all these people here at Media Days or whatever, and we'd ask them like the same three questions. And one question I used to always ask was, is Tennessee ever going to be back, or have they permanently, stepped out of the limelight like Nebraska has? And then Tennessee had the season that they had last year, which makes me ask this question, which is this going to be a thing, or is this a one-off? Last year was special, and Tennessee's going to go back to what they've been over the last 20 years.
This is going to be a thing. Tennessee is still distancing itself from the other teams in the division not named Georgia. And as the Volunteers continue to improve their program and continue to show recruits that, especially on offense, this is a place where they can come to get big numbers, not just for NIL, but also to impress NFL scouts, then things will be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I think they're on that path right now with their coach, Josh Heupel. I worry about the scholarship losses the NCAA imposed on them because of the Jeremy Pruitt sanctions. I worry about that. What is it, 28 over the course of 6 years, something like that?
I have never seen a football program outside of Penn State, a decade ago. I've never seen a football program that's like, the reason why we can't compete is because we don't have as many scholarships as everybody else.
Yeah, but in the SEC, it matters. It matters because of attrition. It matters because of depth. I just think it matters. And I think you mentioned Penn State. That's when the NCAA really jumped the shark with me. There was an off-field issue with abuse of children from the defensive coordinator. And by the time the NCAA got involved, an outside report done by a former FBI director had named 4 principals. And each of the 4 principals was some combination of fired, indicted, in prison, or dead. Then the NCAA jumped in and put draconian sanctions on them, which just crushed people that were not guilty of anything, even though the people that were guilty were named and punished severely. And so, there was a little bit of improvement with the NCAA in this Tennessee situation because they did not impose a postseason ban on Tennessee for this. But to me, taking away the scholarships also punishes players and coaches that had nothing to do with the infractions. It's a lack of imagination, and I think it's just wrong. Now, will it have a big effect? I do know that for the Reggie Bush sanctions in USC were more. They lost a lot more scholarships, but it had a big effect on their ability to do practice. So we'll find out. But if it does, because they start to lose a couple of guys at the same position and they have to just sort of compensate because they're short of scholarships, I'm calling the the NCAA on the phone, and I'm asking them what they're thinking about. But to your question, Tennessee, is this something that they can sustain as long as the scholarship loss doesn't put a roadblock in front of them? I think they're on an outstanding course.
Trevor Maddich, as always, joining us on the program presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters. Trevor, great stuff. Appreciate your time. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Jared.
Trevor going to join us next week. Training camp 1 week away. Can you guys believe it that training camp is 1 week away? Unbelievable. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Coming up next, not one national NFL guy except Sal Paolantonio, and you know I love Sal, but not one major national NFL guy has stood up and put their hands up for the Titans even after adding DeAndre Hopkins. I think it's one of 2 reasons why. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, live from SEC Media Days, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Touchdown. The Tennessee Titans have signed wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins.
They needed somebody that they could count on.
Even with DeAndre Hopkins in the receiver room, they're not very deep.
What can the talented wideout bring to the team?
It alleviates pressure from Traylon Burks, forces defenses to pay attention.
He and Mike Vrabel have a very good relationship.
The receiving group has a chance to actually be pretty good.
Keep it locked to Nashville's best Titans talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen. Nashville is growing, but we remember our roots here.
The fairgrounds, my family and I have so many memories there. It is full of history, it is full of culture, and it is full of Nashville.
There are some folks who want to tear down our historic fairground speedway.
When you do that, you lose part of your story.
Don't tear it down, make it better.
I'm not necessarily a racing fan, but it's a part of the fabric of the neighborhood.
When you lose something, guess what? It doesn't come back.
Don't take away my history.
Let's make sure we don't lose another piece of what makes our city so special.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Nashville's Best Deals is a great place to save cash fast. Get up to half off or more on dining and entertainment at thegamenashville.com/deals. Check back often for new featured deals and save money now at thegamenashville.com/deals.
In any work environment, the culture is the most important thing. And what makes up the culture? The people. And this month at Cromwell Media, we want to highlight a few people who are celebrating their anniversaries with us. Morning show producer on 102.5 The Game, Nick Keyser, is celebrating 2 years. 102.9 The Buzz hosts, Eric Steele and Andy Herring, are celebrating 9 years. Sports producer Kenny Adams is celebrating 11 years. And Derek Mason, one of the greatest receivers in Titans history, is celebrating his anniversary with us on 102.5 The Game as well. If you're looking for a new career, reach out to us at together@cromwellmedia.com. Love what you do, love where you work.
Now, your Game Center update.
Brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Now that free agent wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins is getting set to sign his new contract with the Tennessee Titans, the focus moves to how much can Hopkins still help the team on the field. Longtime Houston sports reporter John McClain was on with Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace earlier today and said he thinks Hopkins still has some gas left in the tank.
He has not been used up the last 2 years. All the beating he takes from double coverages, he hadn't 15 games he didn't play, so it's almost like he's got an extra season. And since speed was never his strength, that's why he was a 28 pick, he's not going to lose a step if he didn't have it. You know, his strength has always been getting off the line of scrimmage, great hands, great route running, physical, takes the ball away, goes hard on every play. I think it was a great move for the Titans.
SEC Media Days continue here in downtown Nashville. The coaches speaking today are Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze, Georgia head coach Kirby Smart, Mississippi State head coach Zach Arnett, and Vandy head coach Clark Lee. The Nashville Sounds return to First Horizon Park tonight as they begin a series versus Jacksonville, the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. Pre-game coverage with Jeff Hem begins at 6:20 on your home of the Sounds, 94.9 The Fan. This update brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. From the Game Nashville studios, this is Ian Safar.
Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
79-52 Vanderbilt. And I think he's going to coach him up by Cheryl.
You're going to see more moves. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. The Grand Hyatt, downtown Nashville, SEC Media Days, and our coverage presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket and Mercedes-Benz of Music City, MB of MC, here on the program. So the Titans added DeAndre Hopkins. And when DeAndre Hopkins was released by the Arizona Cardinals, there was all the talk of what team is going to add DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre is going to be a game changer. What team? Kansas City, Buffalo, Dallas, New England. And he signed with the Tennessee Titans. And after that, I wondered how everybody would react. So I watched every show. I watched ESPN, I watched Fox, I watched CBS, I watched one guy says this move is a great move. That's Sal Paolantonio, and you know I love Sal Pal. This is what Sal Paolantonio said yesterday after the Titans signed DeAndre Hopkins.
And they needed him because of a mistake they made a year ago, yes?
Absolutely. They traded A.J. Brown. It cost the GM his job. It put the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles. The happiest man in America this morning is Derrick Henry. They can no longer load up the box on the Tennessee Titans offense. Now you have to account for Andre Hopkins, and you got to double team him inside the red zone, D. Wood. You got to double team him inside the 5-yard line. You got to double team him on third down. Opens things up for Derrick Henry. He's got one more year on his contract, and you change the calculus for the Tennessee Titans in that division. Without A.J. Brown, Michael, they fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Now they're going to, with A.J. Brown, they're going to win the division with DeAndre Hopkins.
I mean, he's the one guy, Sal Pal, that said, this is a big game-changing move. In fact, Ian, if you could, I'm sorry, Rich Eisen, he's got a show. He's got a crew. It's like Rich Eisen has to convince his crew, his jabronis that are with him, that DeAndre Hopkins is a needle-moving acquisition for the Titans.
Let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins, who said he wanted to go to a team with a stable quarterback or a stable coaching staff, and he wanted to go to a team with a championship defense, and he chose the Titans. No, hey, look, you're laughing.
Yeah.
You're laughing. You're laughing. Let me.
I'm not the only one, by the way.
Let me put a little bit of respect on the Titans name, and I understand I've said that the wrong way, but
is that supposed to be inspirational?
Hold on a second. You could do a whole lot worse than Tannehill, DeAndre Hopkins, and Derrick Henry.
That's true.
That's not bad.
Yeah, you can also do a whole lot better.
No, I know. I understand that.
Fair, high register.
I understand that.
I mean, Rich is like, this is a bit, and his guys are Titans. I mean, that has been, in my opinion, the general consensus of the Titans adding DeAndre Hopkins. In fact, look at the odds. I mean, they have barely moved as far as the division is concerned. Jacksonville still an overwhelming favorite. Yesterday, Jacksonville was a bigger favorite, and I don't know if this is still the same because I haven't looked at it. Jacksonville on the FanDuel Sportsbook app was the betting favorite, a larger favorite to win this division than the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow at quarterback were to win their division. And so this is and again, this is all opinion, but it's for one of two reasons. Either one, we are all a bunch of homers and we are overrating the Titans and they ain't that good. And by that good, I mean good at all. Because everybody's telling me that, hey, they're not that good. If you were a team that was good at all and you added DeAndre Hopkins, TV would be going crazy. If the Dallas Cowboys added DeAndre Hopkins, it would be wall-to-wall coverage about the Cowboys' Super Bowl chances now. But because nobody thinks you're any good, they just, the Titans. So what is that? And what is that about? And I keep thinking about that. So it's one of two things. Either the Titans aren't that good, and I'm wrong and I'm a homer, and Trevor's wrong and he's a homer, and everybody else who thinks that this DeAndre thing is a big deal, they're all wrong. Sal Pal, we're all wrong. Or it's the second thing, which I think is infinitely more likely, which is I think people believe Ryan Tannehill sucks. I do not believe that Ryan Tannehill sucks. I believe Ryan Tannehill is right smack dab there in the middle with the rest of the quarterbacks, in the NFL that aren't the elites. And to me, there's 4 elite quarterbacks. Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, which we'll see, and Aaron Rodgers. And I think that 1 and 2 are in a category all by themselves, Mahomes and Burrow. I could see, Herbert. I think he's probably part of that next group. Lawrence could be, but I certainly don't think he's there now. But for the most part, I think the NFL is a lot of Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins and Jimmy Garoppolo, who I think sucks, but everybody seems to think he's an adequate starting quarterback, and Ryan Tannehill. I don't think that Tua Tagovailoa is head and shoulders above Ryan Tannehill. Well, let's put Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the same team with Ryan Tannehill and see what happens. We saw what happened when he had A.J. Brown and Corey Davis, and those guys are not Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. But everybody's just decided that Tannehill sucks. Everybody's decided it, and I don't think the Titans have helped this at all by not being willing to commit to Tannehill and by trying to draft a replacement for Tannehill over the last 2 years. But that's why people are so unwilling to invest in the Titans. It's almost like with these other quarterbacks and these other teams, they talk themselves into things. We saw this last year with Matt Ryan. And I don't get this because, yes, Matt Ryan was a league MVP, but that was 5 years ago going into last season. Atlanta had been average to below average for a while with Matt Ryan at quarterback, and Matt Ryan had been fine, just like Tannehill. Indianapolis acquires Matt Ryan. Oh, my God, the whole situation has changed. But it really didn't. The Saints acquired Derek Carr, and all these people, oh, Derek Carr, he's so good. Derek Carr is not better than Tannehill. We went over this when Derek Carr was available, that over their entire careers, 8 years for Carr, 10 years for Tannehill, Tannehill's been the better quarterback. Over the last 3 years, Tannehill's been the better quarterback. Last year, when Tannehill didn't have DeAndre Hopkins to throw to, and he was throwing to the Scarbini bunch, and Derek Carr was throwing to Devontae Adams, Tannehill was the better quarterback. I mean, Kevin Byard went on ESPN radio the other day, and I think he had to defend Ryan Tannehill, and I don't think that he was lying in his defense of the quarterback.
If you look at this guy's record and you look at his stats and what he's been able to do with less, I mean, if I would say when you talk about injuries, this guy has been phenomenal. And I do kind of think it's a little bit of disrespect because, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not talked about with the Patrick Mahomes and the Josh Allens, but we're always there. And I think when you got a guy like Tannehill, we always have a shot to go and make a run and go win ball games. So we understand that, teams have to plan for the future and things like that. But Ryan Tannehill is still a really, really, really great quarterback. And I'm excited to go into another season with Ryan Tannehill as our quarterback.
I mean, he told you right there. He's not Burrow. He's not Mahomes. We know. Like, that's the thing. He's not those guys. So when you get into the playoffs and you lose, it's because he's not those guys. That's why. But as Byard said, every year we have a chance. And I'm not arguing that the Titans should be Super Bowl contenders because they acquired DeAndre Hopkins. I'm arguing that you should consider them a playoff team because that's what they've been for the most part. I mean, the Ravens barely made the playoffs last year, got knocked out in the first round. They didn't make the playoffs the year before that. Nobody just dumped on the Ravens. Oh, I'm supposed to believe that the Ravens are Super Bowl contenders. Or how about this? Since October 20th, 2019, that was the day of the Charger game where Ryan Tannehill took over as the starting quarterback of the Titans. The Kansas City Chiefs have 48 wins since then. The Buffalo Bills have 43, the Baltimore Ravens have 39, and the Tennessee Titans have 37. Cincinnati, 28. New England, with a year of Brady in there, 31. So this idea that Jacksonville is so good and Lawrence is there, I don't get it. And I don't get why we're just counting the Titans out. I don't get why everybody in the national media is like, Titans. Whereas if another team had acquired DeAndre Hopkins It would be, oh my God, Super Bowl, here they come. And it's not just about large market, right? It's not just about Dallas, or it's not just about the Giants or the Jets or New York or LA or anything like that. I remember a couple of years ago, the Cleveland Browns, for the first time in forever, had a decent season for them, in which they fired the coach in the middle of the year. They elevated and they fired the offensive coordinator. They elevated the quarterback's coach to offensive coordinator. Greg Williams was the interim coach. Baker Mayfield had a nice end of the season. And all of a sudden, they acquired Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, and we were told Super Bowl contenders. They played the Titans in the first game. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo called it, and it was like, Jim, I can't believe we're here in Cleveland. The buzz is so big, and I'm like, it's Cleveland. It wasn't a marquee franchise like the Green Bay Packers. It wasn't a large market like New York or LA. It was Cleveland. So it's not about your market. It's not about recent history, because those Cleveland teams sucked. It's about the fact that most people just think Ryan Tannehill is no good. That's what it is. And you could add DeAndre Hopkins, or you could add, I don't know, A.J. Brown. You could add Tyreek Hill. You could add Jerry Rice. And I'm not sure it would change people's opinions of the Titans, because they think Tannehill stinks. And I'm convinced that's what it is. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in on that. Add that to the kitty, 615-737-1025. Now, I do give the Titans credit, because they promised a receiver, and they got a receiver. So promises made, promises kept. But there is one thing that it feels to me like the Titans got insanely lucky about. And I want to get into that coming up next. We got to call it how it is. And I think they got insanely lucky. That's next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Come on. Join Robbie and Rexroad for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon you wish would never end.
The homemade taste of Bluebell and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
There's no hiding from Bluebell Monster Cookie Dough Ice Cream. Creamy vanilla ice cream, peanut butter monster cookie dough, brown sugar, candy-coated chocolate, and dark chocolate flavored chunks. A taste so good, you'll need a bigger bowl.
The good old days are being made right now.
The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell Ice Cream at Aldi Supermarkets.
Gear up for back to school at Electronic Express. Don't miss an LG 75-inch 4K TV for only $6.99, or a Maytag front-load laundry pair just $6.99 each. Guaranteed lowest prices in every department at Electronic Express, including computers, appliances, 4K TVs, housewares, and more. Don't miss out on an Avanti portable ice maker for only $89, or an Acer gaming monitor just $129. Plus, get up to 60 months special financing. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
20 years ago, when Genesis Diamonds came to Nashville, this was one of the most expensive cities in America for diamond jewelry. Our radical approach and no middleman pricing changed that forever. And now we're doing it again, this time with lab-grown diamonds. We were shocked to find out what the other mall stores and the other big radio advertisers were charging. They sell their platinum 4-carat VS2 lab-grown earrings for $15,720. We sell them for $6,900. Their 3.08 carat lab-grown round diamond with G-Color VS2 clarity is $10,045. We sell it for $5,900. Looks like they might be going back to the old ways. If they're charging this much on lab-grown diamonds, kind of makes you wonder what else they're selling at the same outrageous markup. Nashville, we are not going backwards. At Genesis Diamonds, our non-commissioned trusted advisors are here to give you all the information with details you can trust and prices you can count on. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
In 1972, a Nashville family business story began when Bill and Beverly Finley founded Volunteer Hose and Gasket. 3 generations have grown the business into the local industry leader supplying just about anything to anybody, from the largest of contractors to your neighbor that mows his own yard. Over 1 million items in stock: belts, belting accessories, gaskets, gauges, hose fittings, hydraulics, industrial hoses, lubricants, sealing products, tubing, fire protection, and more. All at volunteerhose.net. If Volunteer Hose and Gasket doesn't have it, then you probably don't need it. Call them at 615-242-0461.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The thing that I don't understand is the New England Patriots, because you got a good defense. They were a top 10 defense. You have nothing on offense. You're not even sure of your quarterback. And is Mac Jones, right-handed Tua Tagovailoa? I don't know, but Tua certainly has a lot of toys to play with. If I put Tua in New England and Mac Jones in Miami, you would probably see Mac Jones be a very good quarterback. But he doesn't have anything to work with.
That was Dan Patrick, and a lot of people wondering, wait a minute, why did the Patriots not get DeAndre Hopkins? And the answer is simple: because of the money. We had heard Mike Reese had reported the Titans' offer was more aggressive than the Patriots' offer. So unless there was a reason other than money, it was going to be hard to see DeAndre go to a place that taxes his money higher and is offering him less. And I'm going to say this, that I believe the Titans got insanely lucky. If you ask me, Titans or Patriots, all things equal, I would say the Titans are the better bet. The Titans play in an easier division. I think the Titans have a better quarterback. I think the Titans have a better running back. I think the Titans have a better system in place than what New England has right now. New England's team looks like just a smattering of a bunch of crap all put together, saying, okay, we can do this. So I would have picked the Titans, all things being equal. But all things weren't equal. You offered more money than the Patriots. And I kept saying that over and over and over again when it came to this idea that he would go to New England, which is they can't get outbid by the cheap Patriots. I kept saying that. Now, all things being equal for me, I would have picked the Titans over the Patriots. It sounds like, all things being equal, DeAndre would have picked the Patriots. But the money was not the same. Jimmy Stewart on 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston reported that the Patriots were $5 to $6 million short in guaranteed money of landing DeAndre Hopkins. And here's where the Titans got lucky. The Titans got lucky that Bill Belichick won't budge. You know the old saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Bill Belichick does not get into bidding wars. We even had Mike Reese on the show last week with TD, and Mike Reese said, yeah, in my experience here, Bill Belichick does not get into bidding wars. And over the years, they haven't done that. Over the years, they brought a guy in for a visit. In fact, they've asked guys to take less money over the years. And they would sell their winning and their culture and Tom Brady and all of those things in order to try to get you to come to the Patriots. And that worked for a long time. And we thought they were geniuses for how they did that. The problem is, Tom Brady's not their quarterback anymore. The shine is off the apple. I remember the day that the Patriots signed Cam Newton, and it was like a league minimum salary, and they signed him right before camp, and everybody just said, Belichick, he knows exactly what he's doing. They won that first game against Miami in 2020. Belichick, He's a genius. But ever since then, 7-9, 10-7, get blown out in a playoff game, 8-9. Bill's done a lot of things that just make me think, what is this Pop thinking? I mean, I remember last year when it was, he's going to bring in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to coach the offense. And I kept looking around thinking, wait a minute, he's bringing in a defensive coordinator and a special teams coach to coach the offense because he lost his offensive coordinator. And it's like, with all due respect, I can't even imagine Floyd sticking up for Bill on that one. I can imagine Floyd not saying anything about it, doing his ha-ha-ha like you would know. But I can't see him actually defending that. Couldn't see it. And it was an unmitigated disaster. And with this, Bill Belichick has a quarterback in year 3 in Mac Jones, who, to Dan Patrick's points, you give him Tua's weapons, he probably is as good as Tua. He might even be better than Tua. But we don't know that because they're not giving him any weapons. And so, again, I know a lot of people have talked about the Patriots' inability to get DeAndre Hopkins and what it means, and that's been kind of the main storyline across the country because nobody wants to talk about the Titans landing DeAndre Hopkins. But I would say a lot of people were saying the other night that Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel, that they were playing chess. That when Vrabel got up there after the draft and basically got coerced by Paul Kaharski into promising the fans that he would get you guys a wide receiver, that Vrabel knew all along. Vrabel knew. They held to their guns. They managed it perfectly. They handled it right. Vrabel knew. And I can't jump on board with that because I don't think Vrabel knew. I think Vrabel thought that there was going to be an available wide receiver. I don't think Vrabel thought that DeAndre Hopkins was going to come available and that no good teams were going to be interested and that you and the Patriots were the only two teams and that the Patriots would not budge at all on their number. I think he knew once it got to that point and the Titans had made their offer to DeAndre and he went to New England and he got an offer there that wasn't as high as the offer here, then I think Vrabel knew that they had a good shot at it. But I don't think that day Vrabel was able to forecast how this was exactly going to play out. And if it was any other coach or any other team or maybe even any other owner, they would have said, what's Tennessee offering? 12? Let's give him 13. Let's do it. We need it. We need it for the young quarterback. Let's do it. And Bill Belichick didn't do it. And the Titans got lucky because New England has money. New England consistently is one of the least spending teams in the NFL every year. It never gets talked about. Belichick's actually brought it up about how they don't spend a lot of money. But Bill couldn't budge. And so you got lucky. You got lucky that happened, and that's why DeAndre chose you. And I don't think it's an accident that DeAndre went to you and then went to them, and that DeAndre was still waiting on them over the course of this. All you people that brought up the Chiefs, DeAndre knew he wasn't going to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs knew they weren't going to offer him no matter what happened with Chris Jones's contract. It was always these two teams. And the Patriots wouldn't budge. And that's Bill's stubbornness because Bill thinks he still has Tom Brady, and he doesn't. And just, I remember Tom Landry at the end. Well, I say I remember. I was like 1 year old. I know what happened to Tom Landry at the end in Dallas. Sometimes it's not pretty. But Bill running this operation with the Patriots, I don't know what he's thinking. And so you should count your blessings. 615-737-1025. We got phones to get to. 615-737-1025. Michael Felger in Boston reacting to the Patriots not willing to sign DeAndre Hopkins, reacting to the Titans signing DeAndre Hopkins. Oh, it's Boston. We'll get to that next. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company, 1025, 106 through the game.
All the big plays.
Rebound, try out in front. And Saros covers it up.
All the big stories.
Andrew Burnett reportedly hired as the next head coach of the Predators.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Checkered flag is in the
Comparing goalies to running backs.
46-27 Vanderbilt.
Does this group of players need more?
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This year, Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee celebrates its 120th anniversary. Through time, BGCMT continues to evolve to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible leaders. Because of your continued support, BGCMT has remained strong and is committed to supporting our youth and solidifying our mission and culture in new exciting ways for 120 years. Visit bgcmt.org today.
Sometimes you want a sure return on your investment. That's where CDs come into play. At F&M Bank, they've been providing smart choices to customers for over a century, including CDs that are a great way to save. You make a deposit and collect the earnings on your terms. Great rates, predictable results, and backed by the Federal Deposit Insurance Company. That's smart banking. Life is complicated. Banking shouldn't be. So go see them at one of their 20 locations across Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky or online at myfmbank.com. F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Member FDIC.
Does this sound familiar? Did your agent provide excellent entertainment with their TikTok videos and constant social media posts about themselves while completely ignoring that you hired them to sell your home? Did they tell you how wonderful they were? How many followers they had? They probably never sold your home, but hey, they did get 15 likes on their selfies. Hashtag my clients love me. Don't let that happen to you. Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why the only likes we care about are our clients loving our service. Ask us about our prepay with TJ option and how it can save you thousands. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Office number 615-432-2919.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text the Game at 615-737-1025.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you ordered a new air filter for your car. You try to install it, but it doesn't fit. So you take a little bit off the sides. What, still doesn't fit? Well, you could try to sit on it. Or get it right the first time with eBay Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's going to fit. Air filters, brakes, headlights, over 122 million parts. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors, let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix is back in Nashville August 4th through 6th and is a must-see experience that has something for everyone to enjoy. 102.5 The Game and 94.9 The Fan has all your coverage leading to the race, including driver interviews with Chase McCabe, ticket giveaways, and much more.
94.9 The Fan is your home for Hit City.
Your Nashville Sounds are back home tonight against Jacksonville. Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win. Pre-game at 6:20.
On your home of Nashville Sounds baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey Nashville, this is Mookie Betts. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
All the things, all the reasons not to like about him. And for me, there's many.
Doesn't practice.
He's a steroid guy who failed a steroid test and now is tested up the wazoo, so can't do steroids. He's old. I think he's kind of a quitter. And he doesn't even really get open. He's a contested catch guy. I don't want any part of that. If the Patriots had said, we look at those things, not a fit, we'll walk away, not even offer you anything, I'd say that's the right call. Good job. That's not what happened. They brought him in. They made him an offer. They stayed in touch. They were in it to the last, according to the reports. So it was simply they didn't want to spend a little extra money, which they have. Or they couldn't close the deal, or they were hung up on selling them on their program. Laughable.
Right. So what was I would love to know what those texts are. Like, we are interested. We'd still like to come here because, we are the New England Patriots,
They still believe that.
There you go. That was Mike Felger on 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston. His reaction, which I loved, which was, I didn't want DeAndre Hopkins. And he had been saying that for a while. I didn't want DeAndre Hopkins for all of those reasons. All of which, honestly, I think are kind of valid, right? Like, I think DeAndre's a quitter. I think he quit last year on the Arizona Cardinals. Do I like it? No. But that's why you got him for $12 million and not $20 million is because of the warts. So I agree with everything he said. And the steroid thing I had never even thought about. I mean, I don't care about the idea of a guy testing positive for PEDs, but if he tests positive for PEDs and then he gets tested more, and then we have to fear like, hey, actually the steroids were helping his game out, then that's something we might have to worry about. The other thing Felger brought up, this was right off the jump. And this is what I love about Boston radio. I mean, right off the jump of their program yesterday, DeAndre Hopkins signs with the Titans, not the Patriots, and he just sticks the knife right in on Belichick.
The Patriots' philosophy over the years of holding a hard line and not overextending themselves and making players come to them and winning deals on their terms, and no one player is bigger than the program, and we don't need you more than you need us. That worked for a long time. Or did it? Did it ever really work? Do you think that's why they won? Do any of you still think that's why they won?
Some do. You know,
are there people who think that's why they won?
Yeah, I think that you have your dyed-in-the-wool, hardcore Bill guys that still believe that nonsense.
Oh, my God.
Which is crazy.
Get a clue. All that did was put money in the owner's pocket and money in Bill Belichick's pocket. That's all that did. All that did was allowed Bill Belichick to get off on not paying players, which probably benefited him financially in some way, shape, or form. And, of course, help the owner not spend money. That's all that did. It's not why you won. Do you not get it? Do you still think that's why you won? And Sal even says it there. Sal says, well, yeah, it worked for 20 years. But that's when they had Tom Brady. He just answered his own question. He doesn't even believe that anymore because he knows it's false.
By the way, Ian, do you believe that the Patriot way has kind of taken kind of a chip over the last couple years in that regard?
I mean, probably, yeah. I think
it's
so.
Not that they're smarter than us or anything like that.
It's starting to feel a little bit more like Brady was kind of one of the main glue pieces, kind of holding everything together. He was one of the main recruiters for some of these free agents. He was kind of taking less money to help with the salary cap. It sounds like he was doing a lot of things to kind of keep the window open going a little bit longer.
Well, the cap's fake, but he did take less money. And I think when he takes less money, then that convinces other people to take less money. But he's not there anymore.
And it helps with the spending for, Robert Kraft. And if you don't have to spend as much on that, he doesn't have to put the money out. So it's like a double whammy winner.
Right. I mean, even go back to DeAndre, right? If Tom Brady's the quarterback of the Patriots,
it's a done
and
deal.
DeAndre Hopkins is deciding between $10 million from them and $12 million from you, he's going to take the $10 million in New England.
Numbers and winning, way up.
His
if
Kansas
stats
City had
and
offered
winning,
$10 million, he'd be a Kansas City Chief.
More
it's that
stats
simple.
and winning, yeah.
It's that simple. And I do think that there is a head up the ass with Belichick of like, oh no, I'm the reason why I did that. And it's like, dude, every year you do that, you get further away from the glory days.
And some of these decisions lately, especially on offense, have been terrible.
Stupid.
I mean, the players they're bringing in, whether it was Jonnu Smith that year, whatever they're doing with the offensive coordinator situation last year, bringing back Bill O'Brien. I heard some people talking that Bill O'Brien's situation was probably a legit situation with Hopkins.
Who was saying that?
I heard it on XM.
Okay.
On NFL radio.
Reliable source.
Yes, Kirk Morrison.
They don't put any morons on there, like me.
They were just talking about how, the Bill O'Brien situation and how that whole went down. As a former player, that would be an issue.
There's no way they patched it up. When Michael Irvin played, when we played that cut 100 times of Michael Irvin saying that, Bill O'Brien called DeAndre Hopkins in, compared him to Aaron Hernandez, told him to stop bringing his baby mamas around. There's no repairing that. Now, again, DeAndre will look the other way because of money, because that's all that matters here. But, again, the idea, that they're acting like they're the reason for their success and it's not Brady. I mean, I think even if you're the biggest Belichick fan, you got to realize, dude, come on now. I also love how Boston, just right out of the gate, they just stick that knife right in. I mean, if I were to say something like that about the Predators, you guys would go crazy. If I were to say something like that about the Titans, you guys would go crazy. But, it's different in Boston and Philly and those places. I think it's like because it's cold outside. Those people are perpetually miserable. But,
Makes
man,
sense.
do they just bring the heat. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Sean is up next on DeAndre Hopkins and has been waiting patiently. What's up, Sean?
Hey, so I'm actually from Boston. I called a few weeks ago, and I said it was going to take at least $10 million, if not 15, to get Hopkins, and I was told I was wrong. Second,
on this show,
I think so. I think
I don't
so.
think you called this show and said that.
I might have my times wrong, but I know I called in and I was told I was wrong. But I'm actually from Boston, and I love Felger because he calls it like it is. But as far as the Pats, can we not forget that they held the Rams to, give Belichick some credit. He built the first 3 championship teams. Brady wasn't Brady till 2007. Then
do you think if Drew Bledsoe had played quarterback that season that they would have won the Super Bowl?
That year, no. 2003 and 2004, I think I could have almost won the Super Bowl with those defenses. But then the Pats held the Rams to 3 points a couple years ago. Yes, we were down 28-3 and Brady had the comeback, but the defense held the Falcons scoreless. So can we not give Brady 100? Can we give Belichick 1% credit here?
No.
Yes, he can get 1%. I'll give him 1.
No, I mean, Sean, thank you for your call. This has been like a year, for years thing, like the Brady Belichick discussion, and I think it's been pretty much settled. Just like Brady Manning used to be a thing, and now it's really not. 7 Super Bowls for Tom, 2 for Peyton. It's just, Peyton's a Hall of Famer, and Peyton's an all-time great, but Brady is the all-time great. I think that it's kind of a similar situation, which is, Tom was more important than Bill. I think it's as simple as that. Now, where I give Bill his credit is that Bill made the move. And he is right. That, Belichick built a great defense for the first era of Patriot football. I still think it's something about Brady. That you win those titles because of Brady. That Bledsoe, I don't think is, maybe you win one with him, but not like Tom. And Tom, by the time they won the second and the third one, Tom was elite. So it's not about. Where I have a hard time with the Brady Belichick thing, as far as giving Bill any credit, is the fact that Bill sucked since Tom left. The year before Tom took over as quarterback, they were 5-11, and ever since then, they've sucked. They sucked last year. They sucked 2 years before that. They did make the playoffs in 2021. They got hammered in that playoff game, but they sucked. And I think I get mad more so than anybody else, or for this reason more than any other reason. I think I get mad because I just don't like the arrogance. I don't like the arrogance of, we can offer DeAndre $10 million and get away with it, and people should respect it. It's like, no, dude, you were able to do that not because you guys are geniuses, but you were able to do it because you had Tom Brady. That's why. And you can bring up that Super Bowl that they held the Rams, without their points. Todd Gurley was hurt. But go back to that AFC Championship game against Kansas City. Brady. It's always been Tom. Texter into the text line says that I do believe that this was the Titans' plan all along. Their plan could have failed. Fortunately, for them, it didn't. I mean, hey, like I said, we have to give credit to Vrabel because he promised a wide receiver, and he got you a wide receiver. Now, DeAndre might fail, just like Carl Pickens failed, just like Julio failed, but he got you a wide receiver. So you got to give him that credit. And Rand Carthon got the deal done. This is not a stupid deal. And I think the advent of the second year is a good development for the Titans. So I have to give them credit for that. But at the same time, I mean, I think they got kind of lucky. Just like when a guy runs the wrong route on a play, but he ends up making a special play, that's what I think kind of happened.
I wonder if they did anticipate some of these guys becoming, I wouldn't say available, but some options kind of opening up, whether it was the Diggs drama we heard about or something with Hopkins. I don't know what other options really popped, but I do wonder if they kind of knew there were going to be options.
I think they thought there were going to be more options than there were. There ended up being one guy, right? Because we thought Corey Davis was going to get released, and we thought this. I think they thought there were going to be more options. There was one option. We had talked a lot about the trade route after the draft, about, could they go the trade route, but when DeAndre's out there with no draft pick attached to him, it's a lot easier to want to do that than it would be to, make a trade for Jerry Jeudy or something like that.
Weren't the Titans rumored to be having made an offer for Hopkins before he got released?
Well, Florio reported that, but then immediately got shot down.
Okay. Well, because maybe they had kind of already had those talks and they knew those weren't really going anywhere and they weren't going to move them. So maybe they just thought, well, if no one's going to trade for him, maybe he'll just get released.
Texter says this is what DeAndre Hopkins does. Every player on the team will be a little bit better. Derrick Henry is motivated with the Spears pick and the best 1-2 punch this league has seen. Tannehill is motivated but now has the weapons to squarely place the ball where the sun don't shine and take on the talk that he can't win the big one. He didn't have that with A.J. Brown. Rand Carthon is hungry, Vrabel is pumped, and we will shock the AFC this year. Okay. Earlier today when I talked about how I had been an ardent defender of the Titans because I've defended Tannehill from everybody that thinks he sucks, defended Henry, 5th in the league, that ESPN composite ranking of what people in the league voted, ridiculous. I don't think Jacksonville's all that in a bag of chips yet, but I'm also not going that far. Everybody's motivated this year. We're going to show them. I'm not completely there yet. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. It's clearing out here at SEC Media Days for this day. One thing that I guess I'm a little surprised by, but I shouldn't be. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, live and local from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. When you want the national
Hey. I got this. I'll take it from here.
Okay, go ahead. Dying to hear this.
We have the best national voices that you'll find anywhere.
Who was more deserving of being thrown from their game?
I'm odd, so I get the odd picks.
They have a new coaching staff.
It's not a bad scenario for them.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
And 94.9 The Fan.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
Hey, it's Teron Davenport, and we're changing the game. Help your bets stay hot this summer at Superbook Sports, the most trusted name in sports gambling with a direct line to Las Vegas. And now, when you use the promo code The Game, you score up to $250 with their first bet bonus. Win or lose, Superbook will match your first bet up to $250 with promo code The Game. Download the Superbook Sports app, enter the promo code The Game, and you'll get $250 courtesy of Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
This is Evan Bass for the Tennessee Men's Clinic. For most of us, sex is a big part of our relationship. So when something like erectile dysfunction starts affecting intimacy, it can be a real problem. But what you may not know is that ED doesn't just affect you, it can be tough on your partner as well. Plus, if you have ED, you know how it can make you feel. The truth is, we see a lot of guys who have depression, frustration, and even relationship issues because of ED. But we don't want ED to impact you or the one you love anymore. The Tennessee Men's Clinic tackles ED. Our urologists and medical providers take a comprehensive approach and have treated thousands of men with treatments that are successful in nearly 90% of cases. Even if your hormones are off, or if pills, wave therapy, or other treatments have left you hanging, the Tennessee Men's Clinic will work hard to help you get your sex life back, perhaps performing like you haven't in a long time. So call us. Your first appointment includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. We have 2 offices in Midtown and Franklin.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
It can be stressful when unexpected expenses come up, but Dave can help. Dave is the banking app that could help you get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. No interest, late fees, or credit check. Join the millions of people who have downloaded Dave and get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. Download the Dave app right now or go to dave.com. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve. Member FDIC.
Nashville's radio version of The Odd Couple.
You would trade for the third pick? Yeah. I don't know that I would do that.
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode.
I'm here for the discussion. I'm not. It's a good one.
It's absurd. Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 9.
Win the games. When they get in the playoff, they'll have a chance to.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's wonderful for us to be in Nashville. This is something we had attempted to schedule and were interrupted by COVID. And so to actually be here with our media days in a year when the season will begin for us in Nashville with Vanderbilt hosting Hawaii August 26th, and then the next week Tennessee playing at Nissan Stadium against Virginia, and later that day Alabama A&M being hosted by Vanderbilt for the Commodores game 2. It's the perfect time for us to be here.
There you go. That was Greg Sankey, SEC football commissioner, talking about this year having the SEC Media Days in Nashville. Now, let me say this. Media Days used to be a much bigger deal than they are now. It just kind of feels like I went to ESPN.com's page, and I don't see a single headline at the top of ESPN.com about SEC Media Days. And I don't know why that is. I think it's just like everybody's, nobody wants to be in the spotlight. Nobody wants to say anything that could get anybody in trouble. Mahomes Chiefs aim to seize moment with repeat. Oh, that's a nice headline there. Messi on track for debut after first Miami training. Northwestern to launch 2 reviews into athletics. Hornets, something or another. MLB on the D-backs TV deal. Arsenal, Pac-12, and Miami to sign Alba, still trying for Suarez deal. I mean, there's just nothing. Again, I think it's kind of crazy. There's just no SEC. And I think it's because the league's not really trying to get attention anymore. The league makes plenty of money. I don't think they're not trying to get attention. They're just trying to put content on their own TV channel. That's what it's become. And so all this stuff, it's the coach will be at the podium and they never say anything. There's never any drama. I remember 5 years ago, we were in Atlanta and I was kind of depressed. And so then I was bored. We started the whole Aaron Murray, Jeremy Pruitt drama right then and there. Ian, do I need to stir something up over the next 2 days?
We might need to get you into a press conference or two, get you asking some questions, some wild questions. I don't exactly know what, but.
I'm just not that, I'm not going to do everybody's job for them. I'm not going to do the SEC's job for them.
There's not a lot of really big, juicy storylines this year. I don't think,
no, but
other than
there
NIL.
weren't in 2018, and we caused that.
Yeah, I guess
and
that was.
in 2017, when I sent Julian Council to the Butch Jones press conference to ask him if the previous season was a disappointment, and Butch said no, and then one of the players said that it was, and it caused that huge hubbub.
Well, maybe Josh Heupel can get something going with the Vols at some point.
Well, it's not Heupel. I mean, it would be me. That's how we have to do it. I'm not going to do that. I'm not interested in that. Now, Greg Sankey comes on the show tomorrow at 2:35. Now, I've seen him. He does up and down radio interviews. I think it's almost like if you take the time to travel to the media days, whether they're in Atlanta, whether they're in Birmingham, or whether they're here, if you take the time to travel, then you get an interview with the commissioner. And so the commissioner is going to come on the show tomorrow. And there's one specific bone that I have to pick with the commissioner. And what that is, for me, is he came out in April when this new Titan Stadium was on the block. And there was that new tax and that new movement to get 10% or whatever it was. And the Titans screamed holy hell about it because it was going to cut into their profits. And, the wrestling came out against it. And William Morris came out against it. And Ticketmaster came out. And they were all, oh, no, we can't do this because, again, it would cut into their profits and it would be their problem. And Greg Sankey came out at the same time and expressed concerns that the amendment would be a quote-unquote would disincentivize people to not hold NFL events in Nashville. And so CMA was against it. Well, guess what? CMA gives you the CMA Fest. Wrestling is going to give you WrestleMania. Live Nation, William Morris, they're going to give you concerts. Tomorrow, and this is the bone that I have to pick with Sankey, tomorrow I'm going to ask, what are you giving us? What are you giving that football stadium? Because I don't mind Greg Sankey sticking up and saying, hold on now, we want to use this football stadium, and so if you don't change the parameters of this amendment to allow the less taxes, if you don't do that, then we won't be able to bring you all this great stuff to your new stadium. I'm fine with that. But then you have to follow through. And he's already said he's not moving the title game out of Atlanta. So, it's not going to happen. Now, that doesn't mean that's the only thing he can give us. So I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to ask him tomorrow, what are you going to give us as kind of I got what I wanted in the negotiation? You got to give something to get something. He got something. He argued for it. What are you going to give? You going to push us to be a playoff host? I'll take it. You going to help us get the Final Four? If you're involved, I'll take it. But you got to give us something. You can't argue to lower the taxes for you in that stadium and then not give us something. So that's tomorrow at 2:35. That's it for us. We're out of here. ESPN Radio's coming up next. Stillman and Company. We'll see you tomorrow at 2.